What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 9MP, Chapter 176, Karakura Town. The situation is extremely severe. 2x. Advertise here. Qian Ye looked at Yoruichi speechlessly and said, hurry up and put it on you. A few minutes later, Yoruichi, who put on tight clothes, looked at Qian Ye and asked, Qian Ye, I have gone to Urahara, do you want to go together? Qian Ye said, the Urahara store is not in my area, so I won't go. I'm leaving. Yoruichi finished speaking and waved to Qian Ye, and then moved away. Soon, Yoruichi disappeared in Qian Ye's field of vision. It was another 10 minutes later. Qian Ye looked to the west, frowning slightly. When Qian Ye looked to the west, the Reiatsu receiver that Qian Ye was wearing was beeping. On the Reiatsu receiver, a red dot appeared in the direction of the West 3rd District centered on Qian Ye. The red dot represents the imaginary Reiatsu. According to the size of the red dot, it means that it is an inferior imaginary. Less than 1 minute, Qian Ye retracted his gaze, and at the same time, the red dot on the Reiatsu receiver in Qian Ye's hand disappeared. Means 23. The emptiness that appeared in the West 3rd District has been wiped out. It was another half an hour later. The Reiatsu receiver in Qian Ye's hand beeps again. This time it was in the direction of the East 8th District, and an inferior imaginary appeared. The empty space in the West 3rd District was wiped out by Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen, who went there to find a place to live. Therefore, Qian Ye rushed to the East 8th District directly this time. A few minutes later, Qian Ye came to an alley. In the alley, an inferior imaginary is about to act on the soul of a little girl. Qian Ye put his hand on the handle of the knife, and saw a flash of cold light. The inferior imaginary who stretched out the devil's claws towards the little girl's soul did not even have time to scream, and the body was staggered in half, and then slowly dissipated. You kill the inferior imaginary and get the event reward, Spiritual Power plus 10. The scared little girl looked at Qian Ye. Little brother, can you see me? Qian Ye nodded. The little girl's soul was overjoyed. She slowly ran towards Qian Ye. When she ran, the chain on her stomach kept swinging. Little brother, are you a good person? Can you protect me? I'm so scared. I only remember that I was hit by a car. When I woke up, I was like this. Oh, my family seemed to watch not see me. The little girl's soul had already arrived in front of Qian Ye, and she embraced Qian Ye's leg with her open hand. After many days, she finally found a person to talk to and rely on. Look up. Although Qian Ye's voice did not carry any emotion, the little girl's soul raised her tearful face. Qian Ye put the end of the Zanpakuto knife handle on the forehead of the little girl's soul. Soul burial is launched directly. The little girl looked at Qian Ye in a puzzled way. Before she could ask any questions, her body slowly disappeared from the present Karakura town. When she appeared again, she was already in Rukongai. The new life of the little girl's soul has begun. Qian Ye did not have the other side's dependence on him, but brought the little girl's soul with him out of sympathy. Qian Ye didn't want to carry a drag oil bottle with him. Now that you are dead and become a whole soul, go where you should go. Although Qian Ye didn't know which area of Rukongai the little girl's soul would go to, and what kind of life would he live in. Your soul is buried with a whole spirit, and you will receive an event reward, Spiritual Power plus 10. The prompt sound in Qian Ye's mind just finished. Do. Qian Ye frowned and looked at the Reiatsu receiver in his hand, only to see a red dot again in the direction of the South 5 District. Another inferior virtual appeared. Qian Ye rushed to the 5th District in the south. Although it's just inferior, but this appears too often. No wonder the old man Yamamoto will send 2 captains, Hitsugaya Toshiro and me, with 4 deputy captains to station here. Is Aizen Sōsuke really taking action? The inferior imaginary appeared so frequently, if there were no people or imaginary manipulation behind him, Qian Ye would not believe it in any way. When Qian Ye rushed to the South 5th District, West 3rd District, Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen also just wiped out an inferior virtual. Matsumoto Rangaku complained, really, how can I find a place to rest like this? Katetsu Aizen said, are we going to find Captain Qian Ye? Well, let's go. Let's play with Qian Ye first, and then see what he plans to do. South 5 District. You kill the inferior imaginary and get the event reward, Spiritual Power plus 10. After putting away Zanpakuto, Qian Ye glanced at the corner next to him, and then quickly withdrew his gaze. After Qian Ye left, he glanced at the corner before, and walked out a petite female voice with a straw in her mouth. Who is he? It should be Shinigami in a death tyrant. Did he spot me just now? It shouldn't be. When I don't use spiritual power, my Reiatsu is cut off by this righteousness. Qian Ye did not wear the white haori who represented the captain. Because, once Matsumoto Rangaku was drunk, and while crying to talk to Qian Ye, he wiped his nose with Qian Ye's Captain Yori. Since then, Qian Ye will never pass through again. Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen found Qian Ye in the South 5 District. Because the inferior imaginary appeared here, and the inferior imaginary was quickly eliminated. So 550. Although Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen could not perceive Qian Ye's Reiatsu, they guessed that Qian Ye did it. So I found it here. When Qian Ye sensed that the Yongyan of Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen was approaching the 5th district in the south, he circulated Reiatsu and let the two find him. Matsumoto Rangaku looked at the Reiatsu receiver that sounded again, and complained. Captain Qian Ye, what the hell is going on? Why do inferior phantoms appear so often? Katetsu Aizen looked in the direction where the new inferior imaginary appeared. Her face was a little anxious. She thought that she should go over and destroy the imaginary immediately. But Qian Ye is here. She naturally has to obey Qian Ye's command. Qian Ye said. The reason why the captain sent us to station here is because falsehoods frequently appear, so don't complain about Rangaku. Ah, I thought I could have fun in this world. I didn't expect to be so tired. I would have known that I would not come. Rangaku's mouth was narrow. A string of black lines appeared on Qian Ye's head. You have to follow it. Slightly. Is it too late for me to go back now? What do you say? Seeing Qian Ye and Matsumoto Rangaku quarreling, Katetsu Aizen summoned his courage and said, Captain Qian Ye, is there no problem with the imaginary reality over there? Qian Ye said, there seems to be a Shinigami who was originally stationed here. It's just inferior. He should be able to handle it. Chapter 177. Visored. Tsurubayashi Persimmon Raizori. 1x. Advertise here. Each large area of Karakura town has a resident Shinigami who is responsible for soul burial and handling of the emptiness that appears. These resident Shinigami are usually those with relatively low strength and little potential. After graduating from the Mao Spiritual Academy, these people are not eligible to join the Gotei Shisanban. However, they were allowed to become Shinigami by the Soul Society, and they continued to grant them the Wuming Zanpakuto that they temporarily acquired in the Mao Spiritual Academy Hazama, allowing them to become permanent Shinigami in a certain area in this world. The strength of these resident Shinigami is under the general team of Gotei 13th Division. These resident Shinigami, if they face two inferior virtuals at the same time, they may only have to escape. However, dealing with an ordinary inferior imaginary can still barely be done. Qian Ye said to Katetsu Aizen, Vice Captain Yongyan, for the convenience of calling you, I will call you Yongyan from now on, don't you mind? Katetsu Aizen nodded. I can do it, Captain Qian Ye, as long as you like it. Well, Qian Ye motioned to Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen to come over and look at the Reiatsu receiver in his hand. After Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen did it, Qian Ye gestured with his fingers on it, dividing the area in charge of Qian Ye's team into two areas, east and west. Qian Ye pointed to the western area and drew a line in the middle. Rangaku, Yongyan, you two are in charge of the western area. Yeah, Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen both nodded. The two of them are in charge of the west together, and Qian Ye is in charge of the east. Qian Ye was in charge of more areas than the two of them combined, but the two did not feel that Qian Ye looked down on them. Matsumoto Rangaku wished she was only responsible for slap a big piece. Katetsu Aizen feels that Qian Ye's strength lies there. Well, plus she is not confident enough in her own strength. She is even worried about whether she can take good care of the area that Qian Ye has assigned to her. Okay. Go back to the west. If you encounter something that cannot be resolved, don't panic. I will always be aware of the situation on your side. If there is something on your side, I will come to support you as soon as possible. Qian Ye didn't worry much about the safety of Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen. Not because they are both deputy captains. Instead, what Qian Ye did not expect was, although Urahara Kazuki and Kurosaki Ichigo and others are not in this area where Qian Ye is in charge. But Visored, it seems to be here. Even if Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen really encountered something, even if Qian Ye didn't have time to rush over. Visored people, presumably will not sit idly by. Of course, Qian Ye still had confidence in his own strength, and he believed that he could rush to the rescue as soon as possible. Just now, Qian Ye felt a strong Reiatsu. Qian Ye didn't know who the owner of that Reiatsu was because he had never seen Hiroko Shinji and others. But Qian Ye can be sure that the owner of that Reiatsu is definitely one of Visored. It's really interesting. Are we going to meet now? Shili, I have always wanted to fist your dragged ponytail girl with a punch. Do not know why. Qian Ye thought of Surugaki Hiyori, who looked extremely dragged and violent with two ponytails. Qian Ye wanted to blow it away with a punch. There is a saying how to say it, fist a strange. Pooh, it's a punch for a day. Snee. In the alley not far from Qian Ye. A girl with a blade of grass in her mouth sneezed. Huh, I don't have a cold. Could someone curse me? It must be that guy Hiroko. After I switch back, let's see how I beat him. Before Qian Ye and Toshiro were dispatched to Karakura town, they frequently appeared in Karakura town. This area was handled by Visored. Certainly, Visored only dispatches one person at a time. And tonight, it was Surugaki Hiyori's turn. When Surugaki Hiyori rushed to the South 5th District, he happened to see Qian Ye taking action to clean up the emptiness that appeared. Surugaki Hiyori recognizes that Qian Ye is not resident in Shinigami, and sees that Qian Ye is strong. Naturally, I guess that Qian Ye was sent by Soul Society to deal with Shinigami who appeared in Karakura town. Therefore, Surugaki Hiyori didn't make a move at the time. The Visored people such as Surugaki Hiyori use the special scorpion made for them by Urahara Kazuki. It can prevent them from being perceived by Soul Society in the present Reiatsu. This has the same effect as Ling Bianyi. Qian Ye can perceive the Reiatsu of the person wearing the spirit mask, and naturally can perceive the Reiatsu of the Surugaki Hiyori and others who use this special righteousness. 3 good Shinigami appeared in this area, so I can be lazy tonight. Surugaki Hiyori intends to find a place to hide and sleep. As for the phantoms that appeared tonight, they were handed over to the 3 newly appearing Shinigami to deal with. If the 3 Shinigami cannot be solved, Surugaki Hiyori will make another move. Surugaki Hiyori just thinks that the 3 Shinigami who appeared in this area are not bad, but far below her Surugaki Hiyori. Therefore, she intends to be a hero who only appears in the most critical moment. The situation on Hitsugaya Toshiro's side is similar to Qian Ye's side. The appearance of imaginary is even more frequent. Because there are Kurosaki Ichigo, Ishida Ryu and others. Void, like to swallow existences with high spiritual power. Therefore, Hitsugaya Toshiro's frequency of phantom appearance is much higher than that of Qian Ye's. Certainly, over there, Kurosaki Ichigo, Ishida Ryu and others are helping to deal with the inferior virtual reality that appears. Although the emptiness over there appeared more frequently, it was more relaxed than Qian Ye's side. After all, Kurosaki Ichigo, Li Li's Ishida Yulong, Sato Yasutora, and Orihime are all 4 of them. Now their strength has been greatly improved. There is no problem with dealing with the inferior imaginary with the lowest strength. And there are people from Urahara shop and Yoruichi who has returned from Soul Society. Unlike Visored, who needs to hide his identity, Kurosaki Ichigo and others have been recognized by the Soul Society, and they can participate in the fight against the emptiness. After Hitsugaya Toshiro and the others rushed over, they soon discovered Kurosaki Ichigo and others who were fighting the inferior imaginary. After that, they naturally joined hands together to eliminate frequently appearing inferior imaginary. Kurosaki Ichigo was still very happy to see Shinigami of Soul Society. He regretted that Rukia Kuchiki did not come. Beep toot. Really annoying. After Qian Ye complained, he rushed towards the latest virtual appearance. Chapter 178. Resident Shinigami. Who is your leader? 2x. Advertise here. When Qian Ye arrived, a resident Shinigami was fighting the inferior imaginary who appeared here. It was the image of a middle-aged uncle. The spiritual power of the resident Shinigami and Reiatsu were pitifully low in Qian Ye's eyes. Even, not as good as the inferior imaginary he is fighting. Moreover, this uncle Shinigami obviously didn't even grasp the real name liberation of Shinpakudo. Therefore, the uncle Shinigami was quickly suppressed by inferiority. Just when the uncle felt he was going to die, he suddenly saw a person standing on a telegraph pole not far away. The man was wearing a death tyrant with Zanpakudo around his waist. Shinigami. When did it appear? Why I didn't perceive his Reiatsu before. No, I don't feel his Reiatsu now either. The uncle looked at Shu who rushed towards him. It seems that Shu didn't perceive his Reiatsu. Is it my illusion? It must be, it's because I wanted someone to rescue me in my heart. This is the illusion, right? Uncle Shinigami blinked, only to find a Shinigami still standing on the pole. At this time, the uncle Shinigami took a closer look and found that there was indeed a Shinigami standing there. And when this uncle was stunned, the inferior virtual who was fighting with him had already reached his 550. A bone knife was borne on the back of the Shu's hand, and at this time, the Shu raised the bone knife and cut it at the uncle Shinigami. Some Qian Ye who couldn't stand it reminded, "Hey, you are dying." What? After the dumbfounded uncle Shinigami heard Qian Ye's words, he reacted and hurriedly rolled on the spot to avoid the virtual attack. There are really people there, and it's really Shinigami. Ha ha ha, the reinforcements are here, no need to die. Uncle Shinigami avoided the inferior virtual attack, looked at Qian Ye standing on the telephone pole and asked, are you Shinigami God? Otherwise, Qian Ye asked rhetorically. After getting approval from Qian Ye, Uncle Shinigami asked excitedly, are you a member of the Gotei 13th Division? Qian Ye said, yes. Soul Society discovered the anomaly in Karakura town, so it sent me to support it. Uncle Shinigami was overjoyed when he learned that Qian Ye was a member of Gotei's 13th Division. He really has reinforcements, and he really doesn't have to die in this virtual hand that is obviously stronger than ordinary and inferior. At this time, Uncle Shinigami just wanted to laugh. However, the inferior imaginary does not give the Uncle Shinigami a chance to relax. Therefore, Uncle Shinigami no longer fights desperately with Shu, but constantly dodges his attacks on him, just to save his life. Uncle Shinigami once again avoided the inferior virtual attack, and shouted to Qian Ye, who was standing on the telegraph pole and watching the show, and had no intention of helping. Help. This inferior imaginary is more powerful than the ordinary inferior imaginary. I am not an opponent alone, let's join hands to kill it. Qian Ye perceives it carefully, and finds that this inferior emptiness seems to be so much better than the two Reiatsu he had dealt with before. Before this Uncle Shinigami advances, Qian Ye hasn't noticed at all. After all, it's just inferior, not worthy of Qian Ye's attention to their Reiatsu difference. Because, regardless of the difference between these inferior imaginary Reiatsu, in front of Qian Ye, they were all killed by a spike. Qian Ye originally wanted to watch the show. But looking at the appearance of this resident Shinigami, not only can one person not be able to handle this inferior imaginary that is stronger than the ordinary inferior imaginary. Moreover, it may still hang in this inferior virtual hand. Therefore, Qian Ye responded. Oh, good. Qian Ye jumped off the telephone pole. Uncle Shinigami hurried to Qian Ye's side, holding Zanpakuto in his hand tightly, and said to Qian Ye, I am responsible for attracting its attention, you take the opportunity to kill it. Seeing how serious this Uncle Shinigami is, Qian Ye nodded, okay. After Uncle Shinigami and Qian Ye discussed the battle plan, they took the initiative to rush towards the inferior imaginary who was chasing over. Then, Uncle Shinigami used Zanpakuto to hold back the inferior virtual attack. Uncle Shinigami thought he had created a good opportunity for Qian Ye CDEJ, so he shouted at Qian Ye, quick, now, kill him from behind. Unlike the excited Uncle Shinigami, Qian Ye just answered casually, oh. But, although Qian Ye's response was casual, his skill was not slow. Brush. As soon as Qian Ye's voice fell, the person had disappeared in place, appearing behind the inferior shoe. Then, Uncle Shinigami saw a cold light flashing, and the inferior void in front of him was cut in half and then disappeared. You kill the inferior imaginary and get the event reward, spiritual power plus 10. Uncle Shinigami looked at Qian Ye who was slowly retracting Zanpakuto into the scabbard with surprise, you know Shunpo. Qian Ye nodded. Uncle Shinigami recalled the scene where the inferior virtual person who had driven him into desperation was killed by Qian Ye with a knife, and sighed. What a powerful slash. Is it strong? It's just a normal slash. Uncle Shinigami continued to boast. You are worthy of being a member of the Gotei 13th Division, and the strength is really not comparable to our kind of Shinigami who is not qualified to join the Gotei 13th Division. Uncle Shinigami was really surprised by Qian Ye's strength. Uncle Shinigami turned his words. You are really strong, but you seem to lack combat experience. Uncle Shinigami felt that Qian Ye couldn't fight, so he could easily kill the inferior Shu. His command had a certain amount of credit. But I don't know that Qian Ye didn't put the inferior emptiness in his heart at all, so he appeared careless. Qian Ye smiled and said, I do lack combat experience, but you are indeed quite weak. Ha ha ha. Uncle Shinigami laughed embarrassedly. Although Qian Ye told the truth, he was really embarrassed. After all, who wants to be disparaged by others? Uncle Shinigami turned off the topic and asked, how many Shinigami have been sent by Soul Society this time? Qian Ye replied. Add me, there are 6 in total. Oh, there are only 6 Shinigami. Are there any officials? Uncle Shinigami, as the resident Shinigami in this area, naturally knows how frequently imaginary appears recently. So when he learned that Soul Society had only sent 6 Shinigami, he was a little disappointed. However, if there is a Shinigami at the seat officer level among the 6 Shinigami, it will be different. In the mind of Uncle Shinigami, Shinigami, who is at the official level, is a very powerful existence. Qian Ye shook his head. There is no official. This time, it was the captain and deputy captain who came here. It was indeed Shinigami who did not have the official rank. Qian Ye did not lie. Uncle Shinigami was a little disappointed. Ah. There is no seat officer, what is the strength of your team leader? Chapter 179. It turns out to be the captain of the 5th Division. 1x. Advertise here. As usual, when Soul Society dispatches 3 or more Shinigami to this world, it will choose the strongest person to act as the temporary captain. Qian Ye said. The leader of the team is naturally at the captain level. I mean the real strength of your temporary captain. Uncle Shinigami thought Qian Ye didn't understand what he meant. Qian Ye said. Yes, the true strength of our team leader is the captain level. What? I wonder if the captain of that squad led the team himself. Uncle Shinigami obviously still didn't believe Qian Ye's words. Qian Ye replied. Toshiro of the 10th Division, and the captain of the 5th Division. 2 captains. Where are they? Can you take me to see them? I want to report the recent abnormal situation to them. Uncle Shinigami was overjoyed. When he learned that there was no official, he thought Soul Society didn't take it seriously. It turned out that Soul Society not only attached importance to it, but also sent 2 captains to here. Qian Ye said. Captain Riffin Valley is now in charge of the other side of the area. If you have any situation, please report to me. Uncle Shinigami sternly said. No, these situations are very important, I must personally report to the captain. Qian Ye said, but I am the captain of the 5th Division. What? Uncle Shinigami was taken aback for a moment, and then immediately looked at Qian Ye angrily. Okay, you lied to me, I thought Soul Society really sent 2 captains to the world. Uncle Shinigami felt that Qian Ye lied to him because he knew that the captain of the 5th Division was Aizen Sōsuke. Aizen Sōsuke happened to be there to watch this Uncle Shinigami's graduation examination at the Mao Spiritual Academy. Therefore, he met Aizen Sōsuke. Although Aizen Sōsuke doesn't know him, he knows Aizen Sōsuke. The young Shinigami in front of him is obviously not Aizen Sōsuke. So, when Qian Ye said that he was the captain of the 5th Division, the Uncle Shinigami felt that Qian Ye was lying to him. Obviously, as a resident of Shinigami, he doesn't know about the recent events of Soul Society. Because he is not qualified to know. Soul Society will not specifically inform the resident Shinigami who is sent to this world. Qian Ye saw that Shinigami refused to believe him. Instead, he felt that he was lying to him. A black line appeared on his head. Believe it or not. Qian Ye is not interested in the situation that the resident Shinigami wants to personally report to the captain. What important information can a resident Shinigami have? Uncle Shinigami saw Qian Ye confess, and felt that Qian Ye had deceived him, so he refused. Hey, don't lie to me, no matter what strength your team leader is, you can take me to see him. Do. Qian Ye glanced at the Reiatsu receiver in his hand, and then there was a virtual appearance. Before this Uncle Shinigami could react, Qian Ye slammed onto the roof, followed by a few more flashes. Qian Ye then quickly disappeared from the Uncle Shinigami's vision. Uncle Shinigami looked at Qian Ye's disappearing back with surprise. What a fast speed. His strength is so strong. Wouldn't he really be the captain of the 5th division? Soon, Uncle Shinigami shook his head and overturned his own guess. Impossible. The captain of the 5th division is Aizen Sōsuke, I know him. Furthermore, the captains are all outside of the Death Tyrant, wearing the identity of the representative captain and the Howry of the team information. There is no Yori on Qian Ye. Although he knows Shunpo and looks good, he is definitely not the captain. As far as I know, among the current team captains, the only young captain is Captain Hitsugaya Toshiro. Speaking of which, Captain Hitsugaya Toshiro also has silver hair, but he is not that tall. And, listening to his tone, it's obviously not Hitsugaya Toshiro. Qian Ye said that Hitsugaya Toshiro was in charge on the other side and claimed to be the captain of the 5th division. So even though Uncle Shinigami has never seen Hitsugaya Toshiro, he is sure that Qian Ye is not Hitsugaya Toshiro. Forget it. Don't worry, I'll go find them to lead the captain by myself. Uncle Shinigami doesn't believe that Qian Ye is the captain of the 5th division. He just wants to find Shinigami, the leader of the 6th Shinigami in the world, and then report the information he knows. Although Qian Ye felt that this resident Shinigami's intelligence was not significant, the Uncle Shinigami himself felt that his intelligence was very important. For flowers. It must be reported to the leader of Shinigami sent by Soul Society immediately. It's almost dawn. The Uncle Shinigami, in the west area, found Kotetsu Aizen who was in charge there. When Uncle Shinigami arrived, Kotetsu Aizen had just beheaded the inferior phantom who appeared here. Although the Uncle Shinigami didn't know Kotetsu Aizen, he saw the deputy captain logo on Kotetsu Aizen's arm. The team member lied to me, saying that there was no seat this time. It seems that the deputy captain is indeed not a seat officer. It seems that the deputy captain is the leader of the 6th Shinigami sent by Soul Society this time. Point 0. Originally, Uncle Shinigami thought that Soul Society sent most officials to lead the team, but he didn't expect to see a deputy captain. So, with such a deputy captain in his heart, he is naturally leading the captain. When Uncle Shinigami guessed like that, Kotetsu Aizen looked at the Uncle Shinigami and asked in a low voice, "You seem to have something to ask me." Uncle Shinigami walked towards Kotetsu Aizen. "Hello, Deputy Captain of the 4th Division, I am the resident Shinigami in this area, and my name is Yamamoto." The deputy captain on Kotetsu Aizen's arm has a sign with a team flower of the 4th Division and a big 4 character written on it. Therefore, the Uncle Shinigami, also known as Yamamoto, knows that Kotetsu Aizen is the deputy captain of the 4th Division. "Oh, hello Yamamoto, are you looking for me for something?" Kotetsu Aizen asked. Chu Yuan said. "You are the leader of this operation, right? I have something here and I want to report to you." Kotetsu Aizen said. "I am not the leader of the team, but if you have any information, you can tell me that I will notify the leader of the team later." "Ah, are you not the deputy captain of the 4th Division? Are you not the leader of the 6th Shinigami dispatched this time?" Chu Yuan felt very puzzled. In his opinion, Soul Society can send a seat officer to come, but he did not expect to send the deputy captain of the 4th Division. Then, the deputy captain in front of him must be the captain of the team. As a result, the deputy captain in front of him said that she was not the leader of the team. Fan. Chapter 180. Qian Ye. Unfathomable. 2x. Advertise here. Yamamoto had an idea in his heart that he didn't want to accept. Is it true that the young Shinigami he met earlier said that it was true that the captain of the 5th Division and the captain of the 10th Division led the team personally this time? Certainly, even if Chuyuan believed that it was the captain of the 5th Division and the captain of the 10th Division personally led the team, he did not believe that Qian Ye was the captain of the 5th Division. What Kotetsu Aizen said gave Yamamoto the answer to his guess. This time we are led by the captain of the 5th Division and the captain of the 10th Division. The two captains led 2 deputy captains respectively. Chu Yuan was shocked when he heard this. Soul Society actually sent 2 captains and 4 deputy captains this time. It seems that Karakura town's situation is more severe than he understands. And also, Chu Yuan suddenly thought, the young Shinigami he saw in the 553 before was also one of the 6 Shinigami dispatched by Soul Society this time. In other words, that young Shinigami is also the deputy captain. Yamamoto thought about it carefully, and he was sure that the young Shinigami didn't wear the deputy captain logo on his arm like Kotetsu Aizen in front of him. What's wrong with you? Kotetsu Aizen asked Yamamoto in a daze. Chuyuan finally came back to his senses. Do you have a tall, white-haired deputy captain? Katetsu Aizen heard the words and naturally guessed that Shu Yuan was talking about Qian Ye. So, Katetsu Aizen smiled and replied, Akamoto, the person you are talking about is not the deputy captain, but one of the captains this time, the captain of my 5th division team. What? Shu Yuan was completely messed up. It turned out that the young Shinigami didn't lie to him, he was really the captain of the 5th division. But, isn't the captain of the 5th division Aizen Sōsuke? That was before, now the captain of the 5th division is the Qian Ye you just said. Katetsu Aizen did not explain Aizen Sōsuke to Akamoto. Akamoto is just a permanent resident of Shinigami in the world. It is not that he is not qualified to know those things, but that Katetsu Aizen did not need to explain to Akamoto. Although Akamoto knew that Katetsu Aizen, the deputy captain of the 4th division, would not lie to him. But, Shu Yuan was still unwilling to accept this reality. His name is Qian Ye. Is Qian Ye really the new captain of the 5th division? Katetsu Aizen nodded affirmatively. Captain Hitsugaya led the 2 deputy captains in charge of the eastern area of Karakura town, while Captain Qian Ye led me and the deputy captain of the 5th division in charge of the western area of Karakura town, which is here. Upon hearing this, Shu Yuan remembered his previous performance in front of Qian Ye, and wished to find a hole in the hole. Not only did he disbelieve Qian Ye's words, and he seemed to command Qian Ye and let Qian Ye cooperate with him in the fight. Qian Ye won't find him to settle the account when he looks back. Thinking of this, Akamoto hurriedly looked at Katetsu Aizen cautiously and asked, Vice Captain of the 4th Division, may I ask if Captain Qian Ye has a good temper? Katetsu Aizen said, Qian Ye is very nice, but sometimes he seems to have a bad temper. The guards of the Baidaemon didn't open the door for him, so he killed him with a single sword. Hiss. Shu Yuan slumped on the ground. It's over, I'm dead. Qian Ye dared to kill even the guards of the Baidaemon, then his soul society may have long forgotten the resident Shinigami, and not. Katetsu Aizen said, Did you provoke Qian Ye? Shu Yuan cried his face and said his encounter with Qian Ye completely. Katetsu Aizen hugged his belly and laughed. Don't worry, if Qian Ye really wants to kill you, he will do it on the spot. Since he didn't do it to you at the time, he definitely won't do anything to you. Katetsu Aizen didn't say something in his heart. Maybe, Qian Ye didn't put Shu Yuan in his eyes at all. Really? Does Captain Qian Ye really blame me? Naturally it is true. At this time, the Reiatsu receiver worn by Katetsu Aizen sounded. Do. Sorry, I'm going to deal with it. Katetsu Aizen finished speaking and rushed in the direction of the new virtual appearance. Shu Yuan returned to the area where he saw Qian Ye. Shu Yuan thought that he might be able to see Qian Ye again there, and then he must apologize to Qian Ye. Urahara store. Urahara Kazuki dispatched all the clerk in the store to help eliminate the frequent inferiority. At this moment, Yoruichi, transformed into a human form, is opposite him. After listening to the information Yoruichi gave him, Urahara Kazuki asked with surprise. Yoruichi, you mean Qian Ye is now the new captain of the 5th division, and the strength is far above you? Yoruichi nodded. Qian Ye's strength is unfathomable. Then have you figured out which side Qian Ye is on? Yoruichi said, I originally wanted to give myself to Qian Ye as a pet cat, and then lurk next to him, doing various investigations on him, but it is a pity that Qian Ye, that stinky boy, directly recognized me. Urahara Kazuki helplessly raised the forehead. It is enough for you to give yourself away as a pet cat. Yoruichi asked back. Why, do you have a better way to investigate Qian Ye? Forehead. Urahara Kazuki thought for a while. I don't know why, Qian Ye was very familiar with everything about me when he came to me for the first time, and even knew that I modeled the underground place you built in Soul Society's playground. Yoruichi's eyes lit up, as if he had found a bosom friend, and said excitedly, Yes, that's right, the first time Qian Ye saw me, he seemed to know me well, and, according to the broken bee, Qian Ye would instantly coax me, and Qian Ye's instant coax is still above me. Hiss. Urahara Kazuki sucked back twice. You should know that instant opening is a special technique that combines keto and white hits. The so-called special skills are actually nothing. As Urahara Kazuki of Yoruichi's 4.9 Meizuma, he naturally knows it. But, what is really difficult to turn on instant opening is the physical requirements of the user. This is why, in the entire Soul Society, and even the entire Shinigami world, only Yoruichi and Broken Bee will open instantly. Shungguan is not something anyone can learn if they want to learn it. Urahara Kazuki heard what Yoruichi meant, and it was obvious that Qian Ye's instant coaxing was not learned from Yoruichi and Broken Bee. How did Qian Ye learn it? Yoruichi saw Urahara Kazuki's doubts, so he said. Qian Ye explained to himself that he learned it after watching the Broken Bee several times, and I and the Broken Bee naturally didn't believe it. That is impossible. No matter how talented Qian Ye is, it is impossible to sit there. Urahara Kazuki thinks he is a genius. After all these years, isn't he unable to learn to coax instantly? Chapter 181, Visored. Tsurubayashi Persimmon Raizori, 1x. Advertise here. Urahara Kazuki said. Now Qian Ye is also coming to Karakura town. It seems that I need to find time to meet him. Yoruichi said. I originally invited him to live here, but he was responsible for the area on the other side, so he didn't come. Urahara Kazuki smiled, already thinking in his heart, what kind of appearance to meet Qian Ye, and what to say after meeting Qian Ye. The other side. I don't know if Chu Yuan's luck is very good. He really found him, Xiangyi lying on his side on the roof. Chu Yuan came to the roof with a few flashes. Captain Qian, I'm sorry, you have offended you before, and please don't worry about it. Qian looked at Chu Yuan a little speechlessly, lowered his body deeply, and almost hit the ground with his head. Good guy, this tough bull. Qian smiled and asked, do you believe that I am the captain now? Yes, Captain Qian. Stand up and talk. Chu Yuan straightened up and stood upright in front of Qian as if he didn't dare to play tricks. Captain Qian, I have some information to report to you. Say it. Although Qian didn't think Chu Yuan could grasp any useful information, since the other party reported it, let the other party report it. Captain Qian, since 3 days ago, Karakura town has appeared frequently. Qian said. I already know these, otherwise I won't be sent here by the captain. In this area where I am responsible, there seems to be a mysterious power organization. Oh, Qian became interested now. Many times, I perceive the appearance of emptiness, and before I appear, the emptiness is eliminated by people. And if the emptiness that appears is very close to me, it won't be wiped out. The one who wipes out the emptiness obviously knows my existence, and doesn't seem to want me to see it. Qian said. Any other information? Captain Qian, what I just said is very important information, that mysterious power organization. Of course Qian knew what the so-called mysterious power organization in Chu Yuan's mouth was. Don't worry, I will report it to Soul Society. Oh, then I can rest assured. Seeing that Qian seemed to talk very well, Chu Yuan relaxed himself. Captain Qian, is there anything I can do for you during your stay in Karakura town? Chu Yuan looked at Qian expectantly. He thought, if he performed well enough during this period, he might be brought back to Soul Society directly by Qian. Let him Chu Yuan join Qian's 5th Division team. Even if it is a logistics service at Saraiti Gotei Shisanban, it is better than being a resident Shinigami here. It sounds good to be resident in Shinigami, but it is almost a lifetime job. As long as they are dispatched to this world, they will hardly be remembered by Soul Society. Only after they died in the virtual hands, or died of other reasons. Soul Society will send a new resident Shinigami god over to take over the area they are in charge of. Certainly. In reality, being a permanent Shinigami, no matter how unbearable it is better than being in Rukongai. Therefore, the souls of Rukongai, as long as they have the opportunity to become Shinigami, they will almost do their best to be admitted to the Mao Spiritual Academy and find ways to become a Shinigami. Some people even go to the Mao Spiritual Academy again and again in order to leave Rukongai. Closer to home. Facing Chu Yuan's expectant inquiry, Qian said. During this period, I do need you to do something. Chu Yuan was overjoyed, and hurriedly said, if there is anything I can do, please also ask Captain Qian to give orders. Even if my Chu Yuan is crushed, I will definitely finish it. It turns out that this uncle Shinigami is called Akamoto. Chu Yuan did not introduce himself to Qian and Qian only now knows the other's name. Akamoto, in my order now, while I stay in this world, find a place for you to stay well. Ah, Chu Yuan looked at Qian in disbelief. Qian continued. No matter what happens in Karakura town, Chu Yuan, stay with me and don't intervene. Why? I don't want you to get in the way. Qian directly explained the reason. After all, Akamoto is too weak. Qian has no time to take care of him. Aren't you going to be able to do it? Now find a place to stay right away. In this area that you are responsible for, whether it is a soul burial or an imaginary, during this period, you don't need to worry, go. Qian waved to Chu Yuan, and then stopped looking at him. Chu Yuan fell to the ground several times. After looking at Qian for a few times, he turned and left slowly. A few minutes later, Chu Yuan came to a park. What? Didn't you offend him before? As for targeting me like this. Chu Yuan thought Qian was because of the previous incident, so arranged for him like this. Sudden. One imaginary appeared not far from Chu Yuan. This imaginary is still inferior imaginary. However, this inferior Reiatsu was more than 3 times stronger than the one Akamoto had encountered before. There are some shallow cracks on this inferior virtual face, and a terrifying eye can be vaguely seen from it. Chu Yuan was frightened suddenly, and turned around to run away. The speed of the inferior 553 Shu on the opposite side turned out to be so fast that Chu Yuan could not believe it. Before Chu Yuan ran a few steps, the inferior one fell to the front of Chu Yuan's escape. A sullen voice came out from this inferior mouth. Shinigami. Shinigami's spiritual power is the best, turn it into my food. After I finished talking, my neck turned out to be constantly good at it, and the big mouth bit towards Chu Yuan. He seemed to want to swallow Chu Yuan in one bite. In a certain alley, Surugaki Hiyori, who had closed his eyes and leaned against the wall, opened his eyes abruptly, and then hurried towards this side. Xiangyi, who was originally leaning on the roof, disappeared for some time. Chu Yuan was frightened everywhere. After he hid in the public facilities in the park for exercise. Boom. The inferior virtual mouth directly bit the facility, scared Chu Yuan and ran backwards. It's over, it's dead. The speed at which Chu Yuan escaped was obviously not as fast as the neck stretched and contracted. He knows that he can't run away. Chu Yuan saw that he was about to be eaten. A girl with 2 ponytails who looked very tugged suddenly appeared, and kicked the open mouth of the lower waiter. Hey, Shinigami, don't come out if you don't have the strength, find a place to hide. That's right, now is the moment of her hero debut. Chapter 182, that's great. Surugaki Hiyori finally hit the fly. 2x. Advertise here. However, Surugaki Hiyori hadn't waited until Akamoto was crying and grateful to her, but he heard an extremely disgusting voice coming from above. Chuyuan, didn't I tell you to find someone to stay with you? Look at you, why are you not obedient? It's embarrassing to me in front of outsiders now. Chu Yuan looked up. I didn't know when Qian Ye was standing on the top of a big tree next to him. At this time, after Chu Yuan was saved, he remembered Qian Ye's request to him before, and he realized that Qian Ye was for his good. That's right, this time the captain sent a luxurious lineup of 2 captains and 4 deputy captains. Obviously Soul Society is fully aware of the seriousness of this matter. This is indeed not a big event that he, who lives in Shinigami, can participate in. Chu Yuan nodded to Qian Ye and hurried away from here. But I don't know that Qian Ye hasn't thought of anything for him, and simply doesn't want him to get in the way. Surugaki Hiyori looked up at Qian Ye standing on the top of the tree, and she was shocked. Before Qian Ye spoke, she didn't even perceive Qian Ye's existence. She thought to herself, it seemed that Shinigami, who was sent to Karakura town by Soul Society, was not as simple as she thought. Now that he was able to deal with this imaginary Shinigami appeared. Surugaki Hiyori naturally intends to leave here. Hey, you showed up to destroy the emptiness, right? Don't you want to kill it and leave? Surugaki Hiyori raised his head again and looked at Qian Ye tuggingly. Didn't you, Shinigami, have appeared? With your strength, I think it's more than enough to deal with this inferior imaginary. F*K, enough. I really want to punch and fly. Then. Qian Ye put on a ruffian expression, pointed at the inferior imaginary who had contracted his neck back to its normal state, and said solemnly. Hey, don't worry, if you don't get rid of that inferior, I will beat you. Surugaki Hiyori screamed at Qian Ye, you. Who do you call the younger? Oh, are you going to run away now? Qian Ye decided to continue teasing Surugaki Hiyori. If the other party can take the lead in attacking him, then he can beat him upright. Small, don't you want to get rid of the imaginary if you don't do it? You wanna die. Brush. Surugaki Hiyori and Shunpo came to Qian Ye, with an angry and terrifying expression on his face, and slammed Qian Ye's grinning face with a punch. Very good, Surugaki Hiyori will do it first. Snapped. Qian Ye stretched out his hand and grasped the small fist that Surugaki Hiyori blasted at him. The person is not big, and the temper is not small. You. Surugaki Hiyori was already mad and kicked towards Qian Ye's bottom plate. It turned out to be clamped by Qian Ye with both legs. Little bit, you really owe you a beating. Not far away. Chu Yuan, who hadn't run far yet, stared blankly at this side. Secretly, it's no wonder that Qian Ye can be the captain, and his strength is really good. Surugaki Hiyori's 2 simple attacks just now looked at Akamoto, and they were all attacks that could easily knock him off. As a result, those 2 attacks of Surugaki Hiyori were blocked by Qian Ye with such ease. Surugaki Hiyori tried hard to withdraw her hands and feet, but found that she couldn't do it at all. At this time, she calmed down. The extremely young stranger Shinigami in front of him may be stronger than her. At least, above her who doesn't use hollow. Do you want to show the power of hollow here? When Surugaki Hiyori was thinking this way, Qian Ye's other hand nodded behind Surugaki Hiyori. At the same time, Qian Ye cleared his mouth. One of Hado, Chong. Brush. A shock wave of spiritual power with the thickness of a bucket blasted from Qian Ye's fingertips. Surugaki Hiyori turned around, but saw that the shock wave fell on the inferior Shu who wanted to escape. That inferior emptiness was instantly wiped out. You behead the inferior Shushu and get the event reward. Spiritual power plus 10. Inferiority is just strength, it does not mean that there is no IQ. It obviously felt that the 2 people who appeared were not the existence it could provoke, so it wanted to escape while Qian Ye was fighting with Surugaki Hiyori. Unfortunately, Qian Ye found out. Then, it was killed by Qian Ye. Chu Yuan, who was not far away, was already staring at him. As Shinigami, he naturally saw that Qian Ye just used one of Hado's punch. But that power, let it go. Chu Yuan thought, didn't Qian Ye and others come to the world this time without being restricted by Reiatsu? Surugaki Hiyori, who was controlled by Qian Ye, was even more shocked. If Qian Ye's Kido was used against her who was accused, she would be seriously injured. And, are you really the one of Hado who chants abandonment? Qian Ye looked at Surugaki Hiyori with a sneer on his face. What, do you want to personally often? Qian Ye said, pointing his finger at Surugaki Hiyori. Surugaki Hiyori hurriedly said with a smile. No, I don't want to, let me go. Now I know it's wrong. What did you do just now? Xiangyi let go of Surugaki Hiyori, and then said, turn around. Although Surugaki Hiyori didn't know what Qian was going to do, he still turned around. Then, Surugaki Hiyori only felt her ass hurt, and then she flew out. Smelly Shinigami, you wait for me. I will return. Qian looked at Surugaki Hiyori, who was punched by him, and his heart was very refreshed. At this time, Qian also sounded a system prompt in his mind. You have angered Visored Surugaki Hiyori and get a hidden event reward. Spiritual power plus 100. 1. Oh, are you irritated? Li Hao, should Ri Shili bring Visored to come to me for revenge, right? 1 to 8. I should still be able to do it now, right? Qian thought, looking forward to it in his heart. If he takes all the Visored people, he will surely get a lot of rewards. After Surugaki Hiyori was beaten by Qian he was so angry that he couldn't wait to run back immediately and use Hollow to avenge him. But she remembered that Qian wiped out the inferior emptiness and used the power attack of Kido with the serial number 1. For the first time, Surugaki Hiyori doubted her strength after Hollow. Perhaps, even if she is in Hollow state, she is not Qian opponent at all. But, Surugaki Hiyori couldn't swallow this breath. Therefore, Surugaki Hiyori unfolded his speed and returned directly to Visored's base. She looked for her companions, pulled them up, and went to find Qian for revenge together. Chapter 183. Go and return. Violent woman. Surugaki Hiyori has never been so angry. It has always been someone else who has been angry with her. This nasty breath, Surugaki Hiyori, of course can't be swallowed. Just as Surugaki Hiyori rushed back to the base, he was about to find Hiriko Shinji to help her avenge her revenge, and he could bully Hiriko Shinji once, and use it to find a little bit of balance in her heart. Hisari, where did you go? It won't be too boring, let's go find a handsome boy again. Following the sound, Yadomaru Lisa, who was blocking the way of Hisari, was smiling and looking at Hisari. Shiri was already in anger, and some anger was hard to dissipate. When I saw Lisa's smile, I felt a sense of being laughed at. Okay, if you dare to laugh at me, then I will make you look ugly again. Of course, it would be better if you could help me beat that kid down. Ri Shili was also about to go back to find a helper and come to Qian to avenge his revenge. Now that you met Lisa, call her up and go and beat the kid down. Although Ri Shili knew that Qian strength was above her, she didn't believe that Qian could beat her. She and Lisa Hollow joined forces. So, Hiyori said to Lisa, yes, when I was beheading the void, I happened to meet a stinky Shinigami. He was so stinky and shameless that he took my first place. However, I watched. This stinky Shinigami is still a little handsome, so I let him go. Smelly Shinigami. When the stinky Shinigami is so shameless, and dare to snatch your prey like this, I think he just looks down on you. He looks down on you, just looks down on our fake face army. When Lisa said this, she asked Ri Shili again, where is he in Ri Shili, can you find him? The smelly Shinigami, I said, he is here to take charge of this area, and he shouldn't go too far. And the place I just ran into with him just now happened to be the area where the virtual appearance is the most frequent, and he will definitely do it too. He stayed there, Ri Shili said. Go, take me over, I want to see what kind of ability he has, dare not to put us Visored in his eyes. Lisa said. Lisa, this is not so good. Didn't you hear that the smelly Shinigami is a little handsome, you are interested in him? Hiyori joked Lisa. Joke, I would be interested in Shinigami. I'm not used to seeing Shinigami and want to beat him. Hiyori, don't you want to? Lisa said again. But, Shinigami doesn't know that we are Visored. Hiyori also said. I don't care, I dare to look down on you, just to look down on our Visored, I must beat him to the ground to find his teeth, beat him into a fat pig's head to relieve my hatred. Lisa said. Listening to Lisa, Hiyori mentioned the wording twice, and he couldn't help but squeeze a bit. Isn't this exactly what the smelly Shinigami said? As a result, the hatred in Rishi's heart became stronger, and he was determined to beat Qian into a fat pig's head. Okay, I'll take you there. I'll come to you when the time comes, stop him from retreating, so that he can't escape. You must beat him into a fat pig's head and kneel down to beg for mercy. Rishi said, while facing Qian swept away in the direction where he was. In Ri Shili's heart, it seemed to have seen that Qian was beaten into a fat pig head by her and Lisa, begged to kneel on the ground, and begged her for forgiveness bitterly. Brush. Qian just used one of Hado, Chong, slashed a virtual one. And as soon as Qian used it, one of Hado's rushing, even the sound of brushing did not stop. But he heard a whirring wind behind him. There is no need to think about this, Qian also knows that he was attacked by someone from now on. As for the person who attacked him, Qian could think of it even with his toes. This must be Visored's violent woman Yadomo Morori. It seems that reinforcements moved in that day, and they arrived very quickly. But it's okay, I'm going to find them too. Although Qian knew that someone was sneaking at him from behind, he did not evade or fight back. Just standing still, he planned to carry it hard, and Lisa attacked again. At this time, Qian has transformed Reiatsu into a skull shape similar to Zaraki Kenpachi, covering himself. In other words, Qian Ye now uses his Reiatsu to completely isolate all attacks from the outside world. Puff. With a loud noise, Lisa's split also slashed Qian Ye. Lisa's right leg was hitting Qian Ye's right shoulder. For flowers. This scene can also be seen, and the Japanese who followed were shocked. Of course, Hoshiri knew how powerful Lisa's split was. Deserve it. Calling you crazy. Now it's up to you to see if you're still upset. What? Ouch. And just as the Japanese thought, when Qian Ye was immortal and half disabled, he heard Lisa screaming and crying again and again. What happened? Seeing Lisa's abnormality in Hikari, he was so confused, and he came to feel a little unclear. Didn't it fall to the ground and scream? Should it be the smelly Shinigami? Boom. There was another loud noise, but Lisa was shocked and fell to the ground at the same time as she screamed. Until then, Qian Ye slowly turned around and said to Lisa with a smile on his face, "Your split is not bad, but the strength is weaker. It seems that our Yadomaru Lisa is really a man. Violent woman. Your way of greeting is very special, but I like it. Who are you? How do you know that I am Yadomaru Lisa? What else do you know?" Lisa fell to the ground, but looked at Qian Ye very surprised, and asked very hostilely. "The two violent women of Visored are here today. It seems that I am really popular with you." However, Qian Ye ignored Lisa's question and said with a smile. After listening to Qian Ye's words, hiding in the sun behind the tree, he also knew that it was useless for her to hide. So he ran out from behind the tree and quickly helped Lisa up. "From my point of view, you are a small person, and you still haven't been beaten enough or hurt by me," Qian Ye said with a smile, referring to Ji Shili. And just when Qian Ye's words fell, it was not when, Qian Ye had already arrived behind Ri Shili, and kicked at the ass of Ri Shili. What? With the scream of awe, Hichiri flew out. Puff. After flying out of the world, it didn't stop until it hit a big tree and fell to the ground. At this time, Lisa also reacted quickly, and she hurriedly came. She was the best at the inverted split, and with a 360-degree n times the big swing, she attacked Qian Ye. Where? Chapter 184, 2-on-1. Take me to the base. Advertise here. Again. This time, Qian Ye did not use Reiatsu to defend, but quickly grabbed Lisa's right foot with his right hand, and put Lisa in his hand. At this moment, the aid from Ri Shili came again. I saw Ri Shili catching the slipper with his right foot kicked flying, and slapped Qian Ye's face. Of course Qian Ye wouldn't, just so easily hit, Hai Shili's move. I saw that Qian Ye slightly one day. By the way, Lisa, who was on his right hand, greeted the slippers that Ri Shili had slapped on. Snapped. Hearing only a snap, the slippers that slapped from Ri Shili came into close contact with Lisa's left cheek. You bastard. I'm going to kill you. Lisa hissed and roared. At this time, in the Japanese world, he was directly dumbfounded, stunned on the spot, and even the 557 movement of the slap was forgotten to take back. Then, following Qian Ye's reminder, Lisa was crossed by Qian Ye and pushed to Ri Shili. Not to mention that it was Heisei Ri, now she was really caught off guard. Even if she wanted to catch Lisa, it was impossible. How could Heisei catch Lisa? When she saw Lisa as a whole, she rushed to Heisei. What? Ouch. With the screams, the two violent women fell together. But it was Qian Ye, not only was still smiling, but also clapped his hands with a look of disgust on his face. Steaming. Ping. Ping. The two women, Lisa and Ri Shili, not only soared up again, but also quickly moved forward and backward, and placed Qian Ye in a forward and backward flanking frame. At this time, if the eyes of Lisa and the two daughters of Nishi-ri could kill, he would have died 1,000 times earlier. Qian Ye saw the two women glaring at him, and he also knew that Lisa and Ri Shili was also aroused by him. It seems that this one has to be fought or not. However, Qian Ye was not in a hurry. He also wanted to adjust the taste of Lisa and Nishiri, and tease the two girls. However, before Qian Ye could speak, the second daughter was ready to hollow. And many more. Qian Ye quickly said to Lisa and Ri Shili. Why? Do you admit it? Wasn't it very restrictive before? It turns out that you all of Shinigami are the same, so you have one. Bai Shili was very disdainful. But Lisa said angrily. Do you have any last words? Just say it. I don't have the time and patience to play with you. I didn't say not to fight, it's just that you two fights won. I'm afraid it's a bit unfair. Qian Ye said. What's unfair about this? Do you only allow you to insult us and not allow us to fight back? Lisa said. That's not the case, but just like that, it's less fun. Before Qian Ye finished speaking, Bai Shili asked, then what do you want? Say if you have something to say, let it go if you have a fart. How about this? Let's nod the lottery. As long as it is the loser, we must obey the other party. Qian Ye said. Lisa and the second daughter of Ri Shili just wanted to beat Qian Ye, not to really kill Qian Ye. Because Qian Ye, Shinigami, is very hateful, but he also came to guard this place, to kill the emptiness. You still have to say something specific. Lest you come back for a while. Bai Shili was confident and authentic. Not only does Bai Shili do not think that she and Lisa will not be Qian Ye's opponents after they are hollow, but Lisa also thinks that she and Hai Shili, after hollow, will never lose. Qian Ye pretended to think for a while, but said, if I lose, I will leave it to your disposal. If I win, you will take me to your Visored base. This is impossible, Bai Shili said. Don't think about it, our Visored base does not allow outsiders to enter. Lisa also objected. Why? You are just like this, and you think you have lost. Then if that's the case, what's the strength of this fight? Let's go. Walk slowly and not send it. Qian Ye finished speaking, but he showed a sigh of relief. Despise the way they both come. Lisa and Ri Shili heard Qian Ye say so, and saw that Qian Ye didn't put the two of them in his eyes, and even despised them when they got up. They were also raged with anger and blood. Okay, since you are not afraid of being beaten into a pig's head and want to be a pet, then I will do it for you. Bai Shili said. Yes, you won't lose anyway, we promised. Lisa said too. This is what you said. Don't regret not admitting the account when the time comes. However, I am not afraid that you will not admit the account. Isn't it Visored's base? I want to go. After Qian Ye finished speaking, he said to Lisa and Ri Shili very directly, you can directly hollow. I just finished saying what Qian Ye said, but I saw. But when I saw Lisa and the second daughter of Nishiri, not only were they already hollow, they also came directly to Shikai. And at this moment, Hitsugaya Toshiro took the two sub-teams, Kira and Abarai Renji, to behead the void everywhere. Captain, why are there more and more falsehoods now, appearing more and more frequently? I don't know what happened to Captain Qian Ye. Abarai Renji said to Hitsugaya Toshiro. You better do your own thing. Don't worry about Captain Qian Ye. Hitsugaya Toshiro said. Abarai Renji, I think you are thinking about Matsumoto Rangaku. Kira smiled. At this time, the Reiatsu receiver worn on the wrists of the three of them sent out. Toot toot. The three Hitsugaya Toshiro quickly rushed away. In the western half, the two deputy captains, Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen, are also constantly beheading Zalai. It's hard to get together to say a few words when you stop. I don't know where Captain Qian Ye went. It's been a long time, and I haven't seen the captain's figure. Matsumoto Rangaku complained a little bit authentically. Captain Qian Ye, of course, is killing the emptiness. Didn't you see that many 4.9 emptiness disappeared out of thin air? The leader can kill more than us. Katetsu Aizen said. Toot toot. The two continued to say a few words, and the Reiatsu receiver they were wearing kept ringing again. The two deputy captains, Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen, pounced in the direction where Shu was. However, the leader of Qian Ye, not only was not killing Shu, but defeated both Lisa and Ri Shili, and let the two daughters escape. You defeated the two Visored and got the event reward, Spiritual Power plus 10. At this time, Qian Ye also received the reward of the event. However, most of the voids that Katetsu Aizen said were killed by Qian Ye were not killed by him. After Qian Ye received the event reward, Yin Yin smiled, as the Visored base. I'm here. Chapter 185, Masked Legion Base. Enchantment is useless to me. Advertise here. Those vanities that disappeared without a name were of course beheaded by a mysterious organization in the western half of Visored. This is not because Qian Ye is irresponsible, but Qian Ye has his own plan. Moreover, Qian Ye is also implementing his plan. Of course, Qian Ye also knew about these emptiness in this western half. Even if he and the two deputy captains were not stationed there, the Visored man killed them all. It is precisely because of this that Qian Ye has the opportunity to implement his plan. This is why Qian Ye chose to station in the western half of the world after he came to this world. In a word, Qian Ye came to Hiriko Shinji and the entire masked army. Quick, the front is our base, and I finally escaped back. Don't relax. Fast forward to the base. Don't let the smelly Shinigami catch up. Don't let him discover our base. Lisa and Nishi said as they rushed towards the barrier of the Visored base. Visored's enchantment, not only can they enter and exit at will. Moreover, only their members know where the base is. Although, Lisa and Ri Shili had agreed to Qian Ye before. However, the two of them also agreed when they thought they would not lose. Who knows that inconspicuous Shinigami, so perverted, he didn't even use Shikai, so he beat her to death, and now they are fat pigs, but she is the one who came. Lisa and the second daughter of Hichiri are not dissatisfied, but hate that smelly Shinigami is too ignorant of pity. Until this time, Lisa and the two daughters of Hichiri still didn't know what the smelly Shinigami was called. Of course, she didn't ask, and Qian Ye didn't say either. Lisa and the second daughter of Ri Shili, although they lost, they would not commit the crime obediently, and they really brought Qian Ye into Visored's base. The only way, of course, is to take advantage of Qian Ye's attention and escape back to the base to make plans. However, what Lisa and the second daughter of Ri Shili didn't know was that it was not that Qian Ye couldn't catch up with them, but that Qian Ye didn't bother to chase them, and didn't even need to chase them. You can run to the monk, but you can't run to the temple. Why did Qian Ye spend that effort in vain? The previous bet was nothing but Qian Ye playing with the second girl. Another sentence. Teasing you. Call. Lisa and the two daughters of Hichiri finally passed through the barrier and entered the interior of the base. Call. As soon as they entered the base, Lisa and the two daughters of Nikiri also squatted down, panting heavily. I said, two violent women, why are they so slow? Didn't you have breakfast this morning? But at this moment, a burst of laughter suddenly came into the ears of Lisa and the second daughter of Rishiri. Lisa and the second daughter of Rishili, when they heard this laughter, of course they knew who this was from. And just after Qian Ye's voice fell. You have entered the Visored base and received a hidden event reward. Spiritual power plus 100. This is actually a hidden mission. Qian Ye is also a little bit pity. Sure enough, when the two women raised their heads and looked forward, I saw that Qian Ye not only blocked the way of her too, but also looked at her too in a playful and mocking manner. This was not only a surprise to Lisa and the two daughters of Hichiri, but also astonishment. How could this happen? Obviously I didn't see this smelly Shinigami catching up. Enchantment. Yes, doesn't the base have an enchantment? Could it be that the barrier of the base is broken? Hey, the barrier is not broken, nor is it broken. Then this smelly Shinigami, how did you find and come in? Lisa and the second daughter of Nishili kept asking questions in their hearts. The two of them, of course, are also very sure, this smelly Shinigami is really a Shinigami. Even if he is not Shinigami, but imaginary, it is impossible to come in. The barrier of their Visored base is impossible to find even the captain of Soul Society and those Manos Grande, and break open. No one has found Visored's base since it was built, let alone broke the barrier and walked inside. You, who on earth are you? How did you get in? Are you a human or a ghost? Hiyori asked. Hiyori was also very sure that this stinky Shinigami was not here, but came before her and Lisa. What's the matter? Only you are allowed here, but no one else is allowed. Qian Ye said this, but pointed to the barrier of the base again and said, are you talking about your barrier? Just break the barrier. You can't deceive children, but you can't deceive me. Qian Ye's words also confirmed that the barrier of the Visored base was not problematic, nor was it destroyed, but it was useless to this smelly Shinigami. Also, the enchantment of this base was laid by the ghost leader of the Kido crowd Hachigan. However, it stands to reason that once someone approaches, or breaks the barrier and enters the base, it is impossible to hide from Zhaobo Zan. However, it has been so long, and it is obvious that this Hachigan has not been discovered by Hachigan. Since you are here, you can let us go. Do we know if we are wrong? We don't have bamboo. Hiyori had no choice but to say. Now Rishili knew that they really couldn't escape this time. This is their Visored base, except here, where can they escape? At this time, Lisa said, you came to our Visored base, didn't you just want to find Hiroko Shinji 557? Okay, let's take you in. This is also considered our promise to keep. No, Lisa, hi Shiri, here we are. Just as Lisa had just finished speaking, Hiroko Shinji's voice came. Following Hiroko Shinji's voice, I saw Hiroko Shinji walking in from outside the barrier with the other 5 members of the Masked Legion. Of course, this is precisely because Qian Ye broke into Visored's base, which caused Yagata Hachigan's feelings. Only then did they know that Qian Ye had broken into their base. After Yagata Hachigan knew that Qian Ye had broken into the base, he immediately notified Hiroko Shinji. And Yagata Hachigan knew even more that not only did Qian Ye step into the base, but also knew that Lisa and Nishiri had also returned to the base and were not injured. It turned out that it was not as Lisa thought, Yagata Hachigan did not come without noticing it, but because he was too far away to arrive in time. Hiroko Shinji came directly in front of Qian Ye, and after smiling slyly, he said to Qian Ye, it turned out to be Captain Qian Ye of the 5th Division. I wonder if you come to my Visored base, what can I do? Hiroko Shinji, you won't be blaming me, you ran into your masked army base without permission. Qian Ye didn't answer the question. And Qian Ye did not mention Lisa and Nikiri, nor did he mention the Masked Legion base, there was a barrier. Chapter 186. Not a subordinate but a thug. Advertise here. Captain Qian Ye, how could this happen? Didn't I send 2 people to invite you? However, Hiroko Shinji also opened his mouth, and this nonsense was not blushing in heartbeat. Hiroko Shinji, if you say so, then I understand. Since this is the case, then we don't want to be polite. Let's go inside and eat lightly. Qian Ye was a bit anti-guest and authentic. Captain Qian Ye, let's go. Just when Hiroko Shinji had just finished speaking, Qian Ye was the first to listen to the base. Qian Ye seems to have never been here, as if he was the master here. Until this time, Lisa and Nishiri's second daughter, knows that this smelly Shinigami is not only called Qian Ye, but also Soul Society, the new captain of the 5th Division. The people of the Masked Legion, of course, also knew about Aizen's defect. From beginning to end, neither Qian Ye nor Hiroko Shinji had come to Lisa and Nishiri. Only a few other people in Visored were taking care of the 2 daughters. However, it was just taking care of it, and it was the same that people didn't say much or asked more about it. Hiroko Shinji and others were surprised to see Qian Ye being so familiar with the road, it was as if they were really the guests. Ever since Qian Ye and others were sent to Karakura town by the captain, Hiroko Shinji knew about it. Originally, Hiroko Shinji was also planning to find time to come for a while, Qian Ye, the celebrity of Soul Society, but I didn't want to, but Qian Ye came to the door. Of course Hiroko Shinji also knew that this must be their Visored 2 violent women who provoked the Qian Ye captain. Hiroko Shinji did not expect that his meeting with Qian Ye would be in such a situation. Although Hiroko Shinji blamed Lisa and the second daughter of Hiroko, after seeing the miserable situation of the second daughter at this time, not only did he lose his anger, but he felt a little pity for the second daughter, and even more for Bear Ed. With a smile. Therefore, if the two daughters of Lisa and Hiroko could not hear their voices, even Hiroko Shinji would not recognize the two daughters. That fat pig's head is not only funny, but it also makes people panic when looking at it. Soon, Qian Ye brought Hiroko Shinji and others to the residence of Hiroko Shinji and others. But at this moment, Qian Ye stopped. Of course Qian Ye also knows that this play can't be performed too much, nor can it be done too absolutely. What's more, Qian Ye, the base of the Masked Legion, has really never been here. Next, of course he has to be a guest again, waiting for the hospitality of Hiroko Shinji and others. Captain Qian Ye, why didn't you go in? We are still waiting for your reception. Hiroko Shinji asked Qian Ye with a smile when he saw Qian Ye stopped. Hiroko Shinji, it's better for you to go first. I'm tired from walking, so I'll stay outside first, cool off, and panting. After Qian Ye finished speaking, not only did he fan the wind with his hand, he also gasped for breath. Seeing Qian Ye's pretentiousness at this time, let alone Hiroko Shinji, even the two girls, Lisa and Hiroko, who were as fat as a pig's head, almost couldn't hold back a laugh. However, Qian Ye didn't care about it. Am I so funny? Just laugh it out if you want to laugh. I'm not afraid of suffocating myself to death. Qian Ye's words are really an antidote. After hearing Qian Ye's words, Hiroko Shinji and others not only lost their smiles, they also bubbling over their heads, so they couldn't even laugh. Seeing this, Hiroko Shinji also walked forward, and while walking inside, said to Qian Ye, Captain Qian Ye. Please. In the lobby of Visored, Hiroko Shinji was seated in Qian Ye, then pointed at Lisa and Nisei, and said to Qian Ye, Captain Qian Ye, your way of teaching is too special. It's not heavy anymore. Hiroko Shinji, are you blaming me or trying to find a place for your members? You have to know that if I can't make them fatter, I am afraid that even if I stand in front of you, I don't have to pretend, you won't recognize me either. Qian Ye said. Captain Qian Ye, it won't happen. Even before Hiroko Shinji's words were finished, Qian Ye answered, as for me, I don't know, I only know that the two of them really want to turn me into a pig's head. And Hiroko Shinji knows that when he sees this, there will be no results after speaking. Of course, if you want Hiroko Shinji to fight for this, he won't get Qian Ye to fight. As a result, Hiroko Shinji changed the subject and said, Captain Qian Ye, I'm frankly angry. In my opinion, you are not suitable for Shinigami. Hiroko Shinji, how do you say this? Why am I not suitable to be Shinigami? And, am I not in a good mood now? Do I look good? Qian Ye asked. Captain Qian Ye, although you are not only very famous now, but also the captain of the 5th division, but I still think that you are more suitable to be our companions, and we are fellow travelers. Hiroko Shinji is also very direct and authentic. Hiroko Shinji, although I don't agree with you, I feel the same. I also think that we are indeed the same, and you are indeed suitable to follow me. Qian Ye said this, but after looking at Hiroko Shinji and others, he continued, but don't worry, as long as you follow me, I will treat each of you kindly. Captain Qian Ye, so to speak, you are here to recruit us and let us be your subordinates. However, this is impossible. We are not interested in being Shinigami. Hiroko Shinji said. What's impossible? But, Hiroko Shinji, I'm here to collect you, yes. However, I'm not here to take in subordinates, but to take in thugs. Qian Ye was very direct and authentic. Hiroko Shinji and others Li Zhao after hearing what Qian Ye said, they wanted to laugh again. This Qian Ye wanted to collect them. It turned out that it was not here to accept subordinates, but to find thugs. This is really the funniest joke they have ever heard. A joke, if they want to accept their masked army as thugs, I am afraid that only Qian Ye would dare to say, think, and do so. Captain Qian Ye, this is even more impossible. If you have nothing else, you still go. When Hiroko Shinji said this, he pointed to the outside and said, Captain Qian Ye, although the emptiness outside is just a few inferior emptiness, but there are many emptiness outside. In this western half, I am afraid that your the deputy captain can hardly be killed, you should go out and help to kill the virtual. That should be your essential job. However, Qian Ye ignored Hiroko Shinji's words, and said very directly, then you guys, what do you want to be my thug? Although, Chapter 187, Qian Ye's Masked Legion. Advertise here. Captain Qian Ye, do you want to be strong? Hiroko Shinji asked. Hiroko Shinji showed a weird smile after asking Qian Ye. Because he would not believe that, even if Qian Ye was powerful, he would definitely not be the opponent of their entire Masked Legion. Hiroko Shinji, it seems that your Masked Legion is really a litter. You also want to beat me into a fat pig's head. But in the end, who will become a fat pig's head, then it's a little hard to say. Qian Ye said with a smile. Captain Qian Ye, although you are already a captain-level Shinigami, we are not bad. If you insist on doing this, then we will not let you slaughter. And we also let you know that we are not that weak lamb. Hiroko Shinji said very firmly. Hiroko Shinji, I did not think that you are just a sheep that is slaughtered. If that is the case, then you are not worthy of being my thugs. You know, even if you want to be my thugs, you need strength. What I need is not waste. Qian Ye is serious and authentic. You stinky Shinigami, don't think you are the shit captain of Soul Society, there is nothing great. You can fight, but you can't just take advantage of 560. And at this moment, you are still as fat as a pig's head. In the Japanese world, it roared. At this time, Hiroko Shinji did not stop Urisari either. But he looked at Qian Ye with a weird smile, and agreed with what Shili said. Hiroko Shinji, what Hiroko Shinji meant, should it be you and your masked legion? Qian Ye ignored Hiroko Shinji and asked Hiroko Shinji again. Captain Qian Ye, if you have to think so, I have no objection, even if it is. Hiroko Shinji also said. Hiroko Shinji, since this is the case, why not let us be fair? However, you are not allowed to cheat anymore. Of course, I am not afraid of you cheating. Regarding this point, I don't need to say more. Qian Ye said with a smile too. Then Captain Qian Ye, how is the fairness to come? However, I have to explain first that we will not choose one-to-one. Hiroko Shinji reminded. Of course, your style is like this. Then you will go together. It will prevent you from dissatisfied for a while, and it will save time. The inferior virtual outside is still waiting for you to kill. Qian Ye, but it said. Captain Qian Ye, otherwise, since you want to accept us as your thugs, and I also want to join us. Then if we lose, we are willing to listen to you and just be your thugs. And if we win, then you have to join us. Of course, you can't be the captain of your 5th division. If you are really capable, it is not impossible to be the captain of our masked legion. Hiroko Shinji just drew it down. Hiroko Shinji, you know me best. I agree with your proposal, but I don't want to. You will all become fat pigs. Of course, even if you become fat pigs, the result will be the same. Qian Ye also reminded. Captain Qian Ye, don't worry. As long as you don't become a fat pighead. We already have a role model and won't imitate it anymore. Hiroko Shinji also fought against each other. Then let's start. Qian Ye finished speaking, but he took the lead to fly to the training ground of the Masked Legion. Under Hiroko Shinji's signal, the 8 members of the Masked Legion also surrounded Qian Ye in the middle of the training ground in 4 directions: east, south, west, and north. Of course, this is also what Qian Ye intends to cooperate with, because he is standing at the center of the training ground at this time. For the 8 members of the Masked Legion, Qian Ye most wants to see it in person, and only Hiroko Shinji's trick. 100% can control human nerves, make people feel illusions, upside down, up, down, left, and right. The front and back will be interchanged, and the direction of the cut in the injured place are also reversed. However, Qian Ye just wanted to see, CDEJ was a little interested. As for the other people, although the strength is not weak, Qian Ye is not interested in them at all, just let him go out, show his appearance, and participate in them. At this time, on the east side of the training ground, which is directly opposite Qian Ye, standing and wearing a white mask, teeth have replaced the mouth lips, and the front hair, like the back of the back hair, and exposed Hiroko Shinji with a weird smile. It is very obvious that this Hiroko Shinji is also preparing to face Qian Ye head-on, and he will contain Qian Ye. The one standing with Hiroko Shinji is of course what Qian Ye calls Xiaobudian, and of course, he is also a fat pig-headed monkey persimmon Nishiri. Standing behind Qian Ye were the fat uncle Hachigan and the passionate young man Muguruma Kensai. This is also very clear, these two are their active hands, and they are also the key and whole cards for whether they can win. On the left, Yadomaru Lisa, a violent woman with a fat pig's head, and an uncle with deep fried hair wearing sunglasses, Love Akawa, guarded her. On the right, there are Kuna Mashiro, a little girl dressed like an alien, and long yellow curly hair, like a medieval Uncle Jiro Kazubashiro, Rhodes. Just before Qian Ye had neither Shikai nor Hollow. The 8 members of the Masked Legion have not only completed Hollow and Shikai. Cut him off, salty snake. Shikai. Let the ashes be wiped out, the wind is broken. Shikai. Crush him, Tengumaru. Shikai. Play and sing, Kinsaro. When everyone's Shikai is about the same, Hiroko Shinji is the same. Shikai. Come down. Reverse. However, this is not over yet, just listen to Muguruma Kensai, but it is straightforward. Bankai. Iron Fist cuts the wind. The 8 members of the Masked Legion are also direct and unceremonious, and they don't keep their hands. However, Qian Ye at this time is also directly. Qian Ye held now Mihime with his right hand, and put his left hand on the blade. Bankai. Juyulianfang. Chang Chang. With a phoenix sound, Zanpakuto in Qian Ye's hand changed. Dao Tan turned into a colorful bird shape flying. Moreover, Qian Ye can faintly see a phantom of a colorful bird with a single feather all over his body. Not only that, Qian Ye used an instant. And Muguruma Kensai, a passionate young man who also used Bankai, failed to catch a single move, and was knocked down to the ground and lost his combat effectiveness. Then, although everyone was more vigilant after recruiting Muguruma Kensai, it still seemed useless. And Qian Ye's spiritual power and Reiatsu were doubled at this moment. Chapter 188. An overwhelming battle. Qian Ye's thugs team. Then came the fat uncle Hachigan, and the fat uncle just said, "Ah," and fell to the ground. He wanted to fight again, fearing that he would be powerless. Xiangyi's move was also quickly broken, the last move of the Masked Legion, the main attack they planned. It was also defeated in advance, the so-called whole cards of the Masked Legion, and they also suffered a devastating blow. Of course, this is not over yet, but Qian Ye quickly knocked down the little alien girl, the medieval uncle, the uncle with sunglasses, and the violent woman Lisa all at a sudden. Ground, and... What? Quote. Ouch. The voice of ouch kept on. Anyone who was knocked to the ground by Qian Ye would lose the power to fight again. Of course, if they die, they can fight again. However, obviously they did not commit this stupidity, so they already understood it, even if they gave up their lives, and the final result is still the same. When they were defeated by Qian Ye's move, let alone others failed to see clearly, Qian Ye's move came. Even they themselves don't know anything in the same way. The moment he felt attacked by Qian Ye, he was knocked to the ground by Qian Ye inexplicably and lost his fighting power. The remaining Hiriko Shinji and Hizari were shocked. Is this still a human? However, to be precise, Qian Ye is indeed not a human now, but Shinigami. Of course Hiriko Shinji knew now that the combat effectiveness of the Japanese world was simply vulnerable to Qian Ye. Hiriko Shinji is not only to reduce the pain of Hiriko, but also to prevent Hiriko from becoming a drag oil bottle for him in the next battle. Ever since, Hiriko Shinji commanded and said to Hizari, Hisari, you can withdraw from this battle. Whether I lose or win, you are not allowed to make another move. Once you make a move, it counts. It means that our Masked Legion has lost. After Hiriko Shinji finished speaking to Nishiri, Qian Ye said, Captain Qian Ye, you won't object to this, right? It's up to you. Even if you don't obey, and there are no restrictions, you will be sentenced to lose as soon as you take a shot, and it will be the same result. Qian Ye was very unsympathetic and authentic. At this time in the Japanese world, when seeing the other 6 members of the Masked Legion, they were instantly knocked to the ground by Qian Ye, and looked very painful. It was already understood that she did not have the surplus to fight. That's good, at least I won't suffer. After Hiriko glanced at Qian Ye and gave Hiriko Shinji a cheering, please look, he withdrew from the circle of war. Come on, Captain Qian Ye, the next step is our battle. However, you have to be careful. My reversal is not so easy to deal with. I hope you can still win as always. Hiriko Shinji said. It will be as you wish. But speaking of it, Qian Ye didn't rush to attack, but still stood in place, looking at Hiriko Shinji with a smile. Seeing that Qian Ye did not move, Hiriko Shinji immediately attacked Qian Ye. I saw Hiriko Shinji, Zanpakuto, with a rectangular knife handle and a very square pattern, had already been cut to Qian Ye. Qian Ye's Reiatsu's perception is not overshadowed. Regardless of Hiriko Shinji's Zanpakuto, how changed or turned upside down, Qian Ye easily took it over. And Hiriko Shinji is also attacking faster and faster, fighting more and more bravery. He didn't believe that Qian Ye could really take his attack. What only surprised Hiriko Shinji was that although he was getting faster and faster, he became more and more frightened by the battle. How can this be? This pervert. The current Hiriko Shinji also knows that not only did his counter flicks have no effect on Qian Ye, but even Qian Ye's clothes were not touched. Hiriko Shinji knew even more that this was not a situation where Qian Ye did not fight back at all. Once Qian Ye counterattacked, Hiriko Shinji knew that he would definitely lose. However, Hiriko Shinji at this time, not only did not feel dissatisfied, but was also a little happy and fortunate. Hiriko Shinji is pleased that with Qian Ye's appearance, there is hope for Aizen. Fortunately, Qian Ye appeared. In fact, Hiriko Shinji has always been optimistic about Kurosaki Ichigo. Hiriko Shinji also believes that only Kurosaki Ichigo can kill Aizen. Now Hiriko Shinji also knows that not only is he wrong, he seems to be quite wrong. For flowers. In other words, Hiriko Shinji's counter flick is somewhat similar to Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu. Since Qian Ye can ignore his backlash, Qian Ye can also break Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu. At this time, Qian Ye said, Hiriko Shinji, are you still fighting? If you don't fight seriously, then I will fight back. Captain Qian Ye, don't fight. After Hiriko Shinji finished speaking, he retreated, and immediately dismissed his own. Hollow and Shikai came. And Qian Ye did not chase, nor did he need to chase. As long as he wants to end the battle, he can do it easily, and he is not afraid of Hiriko Shinji's tricks. Although the other members of the Masked Legion were knocked to the ground by Qian Ye and suffered some pain, Qian Ye did not really hurt them. Once the time limit passed, everyone slowly recovered. Point 0. These people in the Masked Legion at this time, although not completely convinced by Qian Ye, they were somewhat convinced. I don't care too much about what Qian Ye said about the younger brother and not the younger brother. Besides, being able to be Qian Ye's younger brother is indeed as Qian Ye said. He has to be admirable, or it has to be too wasteful. After Hiriko Shinji automatically withdrew from the battle, it also meant that Qian Ye won the battle. Everyone also returned to the lobby of the Masked Legion's residence. You defeated the Masked Legion. Get the event reward. Spiritual power plus 10. Captain Qian Ye, now that we have become your little brothers, if you have any words, things, and tasks, just say it. As long as we can do it and do it, we promise to do it. After everyone returned to the base hall, and the other 6 or 7 people basically recovered, Hiroko Shinji also expressed his stance very directly. Hiroko Shinji's attitude not only recognized Qian Ye's victory, but also agreed to Qian Ye's request. The 8 members of their masked legion officially became Qian Ye's younger brothers. In fact, according to Qian Ye's words, these little brothers are Qian Ye's thugs. Now due to time constraints and environmental restrictions, let's put aside the rest for the time being, and you will help me accomplish 2 things first. Qian Ye said very seriously. Where? Chapter 189. The base becomes the base camp. Ichigo's hesitation. Advertise here. Then, Qian Ye came one by one. The first thing, I'm a little tired, the inferior virtual ones outside, you go and kill them all. This is the second one. From now on, this base will become our future headquarters. And let them take my 2 deputy captains to my headquarters, so they should have a rest for a while. Quote. After Qian Ye said this, he said to Hiroko Shinji again, Hiroko Shinji, you are responsible for how to implement and arrange these things. You turn the base of the Masked Legion into a base camp. Get the hidden event reward. Spiritual power plus 100. Only then did Qian Ye know that this was actually a hidden incident. In the eastern half, after Kurosaki Ichigo returned to this world from Soul Society, he was in trouble. He and his uncle Zangetsu have been fighting for the control of the body. This not only made Kurosaki Ichigo very bitter, very scared. Moreover, he doesn't dare to hollow anymore now. Because as long as he is hollow, his uncle Zangetsu will come to grab control, and if you don't pay attention, the control will be robbed by Uncle Zangetsu. This phenomenon of Kurosaki Ichigo has also attracted the attention of Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi, and they have paid close attention to it. Because Kurosaki Ichigo is capable of dealing with Aizen. This will be another guarantee in the final battle, whether it is Soul Society or this world. Moreover, if Aizen attacks at the same time, Soul Society and the world, then Kurosaki Ichigo will be the only guardian of the world. Therefore, Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi must figure out a way to help Kurosaki Ichigo completely overcome the mental obstacles. And defeated Kurosaki Ichigo, he could defeat his uncle Zangetsu, and stabilized. But this is said to be light, but it is very difficult to do, especially the current Kurosaki Ichigo, not only has modern depression, but also has phobias. Of course, there is no way, that is, to ask Hiroko Shinji from the Masked Legion for help. For this, Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi are naturally very clear. It's just that Hiroko Shinji and Kurosaki Ichigo once had an intersection, and Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi also knew about it. It stands to reason that as long as the two of them come forward to reconcile, this matter is not difficult. However, this has to be done first, and Kurosaki Ichigo's own ideological work is completed. So Yoruichi found Kurosaki Ichigo first. Ichigo, how is your situation? Yoruichi asked. I still can't hollow. Now don't Guanghei Road is me hollow, but there is no hollow. My uncle Zangetsu is always noisy, it makes me uneasy. Kurosaki Ichigo is a little helpless. Ichigo, but our time is running out. Once the war begins, you will have to guard it in this world. Yoruichi said again. But I'm really not sure, and I don't have the confidence to do it, to defeat Uncle Zangetsu and completely control the contention of Uncle Zangetsu. Kurosaki Ichigo is also very embarrassed. Ichigo, if you don't do that, you can see if you can do it. You go to Hiroko Shinji of the Masked Army. They have a way to make you defeat your Uncle Zangetsu. And, this is the fastest and best way. Yoruichi is also had to be honest. It's not that I don't look for Hiroko Shinji of the Masked Army. He did say that he can help me. However, his condition is that I join them and become one of them. Kurosaki Ichigo it is also truthful and authentic. Ichigo, I have discussed with Urahara Kazuki. On Hiroko Shinji, we will come forward and say that we will ensure that you will not be embarrassed. After we say it, you will immediately go to the Masked Legion base, you see will it succeed. Yoruichi said again. Okay, I am ready to go anytime. Kurosaki Ichigo also agreed. After Yoruichi told Urahara Kazuki, the stone in their hearts fell. And at this time the Soul Society. Rukia Kuchiki, who stayed in Soul Society, found Jashiro Yukitaki, the captain of the 13th Division. When Rukia Kuchiki saw Jashiro Yukitaki, he said very directly, Captain Jashiro. I want to borrow it from you, the training ground of your 13th squad. Give my friend some necessary intensive training so that she can recover as soon as possible. Suddenly, so that we can participate in the next war. It's Rukia. The friend you mentioned should be the present Inoue Orihime. She does need some intensive training. Jashiro also said directly. Yes, Captain Jashiro is Inoue Orihime, Rukia also responded quickly. This Inoue Orihime, I know a little bit. Now that Rukia has spoken, please use it. Jashiro also agreed very directly. So, Rukia immediately Inoue Orihime and brought to the training ground. Come on, Orihime, let's start. As soon as he arrived at the training ground, Rukia was in an offensive position and said to Inoue Orihime. Okay, Inoue Orihime also immediately started the pose, and the second girl also began to train Inoue Orihime. In the western half of the world. At this time, Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Azane, the two deputy captains, have been sent by Hiroko Shinji to the base of the Masked Army. During this period of time, the two of them are really tired. I really want to take a good rest, even for a while. Now that the two of them were sent to the base of the Masked Legion, they couldn't believe that all of this was true. There is such a place here, not only for living, but also for training. It's like a paradise on Earth. And Qian Ye even told him that this is not only them, but also the headquarters of the western half. They also told them that the inferior imaginary outside would not be used for the time being. She and the two of them were going to beheaded, and some of them were going to beheaded. Matsumoto Rangaku and Torichikiyoshi at first thought that Qian Ye was joking with them. Obviously, only the three of them are in charge of the western half. 4.9 Except for the three of them, no one would kill those inferior imaginaries. However, when the two of them saw the Reiatsu receiver they were carrying, they made a beep beep sound, and soon after the black dots were displayed, it disappeared quickly. There is no doubt about this must be someone who quickly and promptly beheaded the inferior emptiness that just appeared. Seeing this, Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen also had to believe in Qian Ye. So Matsumoto Rangaku asked with some curiosity, Captain Qian Ye, who are these people, guarding me and killing those inferior voids? And just when Qian Ye was about to answer, Matsumoto Rangaku. But I saw Urahara Kazuki, who came suddenly. They are Visored who live here. Urahara Kazuki helped Qian Ye and answered Matsumoto Rangaku's question. Chapter 190. Ichigo 3 people frustrated one after another. Advertise here. Orihime, who just ran out, heard Sato Yasutora's screams. He also stopped quickly, and when Sato Yasutora fell to the ground and fainted, he quickly put down Longui and ran over, shouting Sato Yasutora loudly. Seeing this and going to Orihime, Sato Yasutora was treated immediately. Yami on the side, but involuntarily punched Inoue Orihime, trying to kill him on the spot. Tsubaki Ghost, refuse. With Orihime's voice, a yellow protective cover covered both Inoue Orihime and Sato Yasutora. However, the Tsubaki Ghost who joined Orihime is obviously not an enemy of Yami. Yami's punch smashed the Tsubaki Ghost, leaving no fragments. And just when I saw that Yami's punch was about to kill Inoue Orihime. Just then, Kurosaki Ichigo arrived and used Zanpakuto to block Inoue Orihime, Yami's kill. Hey, Kurosaki Ichigo, you are finally here, so that we don't want us to find you again. 23. This time Ulziola just brought it, and Yami and that have been. Arrancars killed by Ishida Yulong's father. The subjects of Ulziola's investigation are naturally Kurosaki Ichigo, Ishida Yuryu, Sato Yasutora Tiger, and Inoue Orihime. Now, Sato Yasutora has been hit hard by Yami, and it is obviously just a waste. And Inoue Orihime's only fighting Tsubaki Ghost was also smashed by Yami, leaving no scum. The current Inoue Orihime can only save people and has no combat effectiveness. However, the combination of Orihime's healing powers attracted Ulziola's attention. Because Urziola knew that this ability of Orihime might be helpful to Aizen's plan. He also had to keep Inoue Orihime first, and then make a decision after reporting to Aizen. As for the Ishida Yulong, it is also just a waste, not worth mentioning. You must know that if his father hadn't saved him, he would have been eaten by the Arrancars. Now, Kurosaki Ichigo has arrived, and after waiting for Yami to get Kurosaki Ichigo, their mission on this trip will be completed. And Yami laughed happily after seeing Kurosaki Ichigo's arrival. Kurosaki Ichigo not only immediately hollow, but also directly Shikai. As Kurosaki Ichigo saw this, it was also Shikai immediately, and with the voice of Tensa Zanjetsu, Kurosaki Ichigo's Zanpakuto had already beheaded to Yami. The two are also fighting in the same place, but even if it is Kurosaki Ichigo Shikai and Tensa Zanjetsu, it is not Yami's opponent at all. At this point, Kurosaki Ichigo also had to hollow. Only when Kurosaki Ichigo was hollow, the emptiness in his body immediately took advantage of the emptiness and took control of Kurosaki Ichigo. At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo, let alone beheading Yami, is impossible, even the slightest battle power is gone. Not only that, Kurosaki Ichigo has to grit his teeth to prevent the emptiness in his body from succeeding, otherwise he is really complete. Seeing this, Yami would certainly not miss such a good opportunity, that is, chasing Kurosaki Ichigo. The current Kurosaki Ichigo was obviously only beaten, and he was very embarrassed by Yami. Yami took advantage of Kurosaki Ichigo's carelessness, and knocked Kurosaki Ichigo into the air with a punch. However, this was not over yet, and Yami followed closely. Seeing, when Yami was about to kill Kurosaki Ichigo with a punch. When, just listening to the sound, Yami's kill was blocked by a knife. Say it, where are the dead ghosts coming out? Yami was also a little angry. And just as Yami was about to attack again, Ulziola at this moment finally opened his mouth and said, Yami. Let's go, their waste is not worth killing, let them live first. But, just before Yami had finished speaking, Urziola said to Yami again, even if you continue to fight, you can't beat them. They are Urahara Kazuki, the owner of the Urahara Kazuki store, and Yoruichi of Shihuan. Just when Yami wanted to kill Kurosaki Ichigo and Sato Yasutora, and Inoue Orihime. Ulziola immediately used the secret technique, and saw a beam of light covering both of them and rising into the sky. I'm going to kill their waste. Yami roared. As you said, They are all rubbish, and they are not a threat to Master Aizen. They will never affect Master Aizen's plan. Let them live for a few more days. What's more, we are here. The second task has been completed. Ulziola said. At this time, Yami was still very angry, pointing to Kurosaki Ichigo and shouting, Kurosaki Ichigo, you are a waste. The emptiness in your body will not be controlled by you, and you will not use it more than 3 times. After 3 times, you are completely finished, ha ha ha. As Yami laughed, the beam of light rose rapidly and disappeared without a trace. After Kurosaki Ichigo heard what Yami said, of course he knew that what Yami said was true. Because of the emptiness in his body, it is indeed the same, he can no longer control it at all now. Kurosaki Ichigo, at this time, was not only very helpless, but also a little frightened. He is afraid of fighting, and even more afraid of Hollow. However, Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi were shocked by what Yami said. After seeing the state of Kurosaki Ichigo, of course they knew the same as 563, and what Yami said was true. However, this is not without a solution. Only before it is resolved, Kurosaki Ichigo is afraid that he will not be able to Hollow for the time being. Urahara Kazuki naturally knew that Hiroko Shinji of Visored must have a way to help Kurosaki Ichigo and solve Hollow's troubles. It's not difficult to say, as long as he and Yoruichi come forward and want to come to this favor, Hiroko Shinji and the others will also help. After all, there is a special intersection between them. Since then, Kurosaki Ichigo has not only encountered trouble, but also suffered a lot of brain and depression. Because even if he doesn't fight or Hollow, the void in his body, that is, his uncle Zangetsu, has been vying for control of the body. This made Kurosaki Ichigo more bitter and more afraid. Because he believes that as long as he fights, Uncle Zangetsu in his body will let him Hollow, and once he Hollow, he will be completely controlled by his uncle Zangetsu. However, fortunately, at this critical moment, Soul Society's captain also dispatched 2 captains and 4 deputy captains to the world to help guard the world. The 6 people sent to guard the world are of course Captain Qian Ye and Captain Hitsugaya Toshiro. And 4 deputy captains Matsumoto Rangaku, Katetsu Aizen, Kira, and Aburai Renji. Chapter 191. Thank you for those who can. Inoue Weaving Machines Treatment. Advertise here. This time, at the order of the captain, the task of guarding Soramaki Castle was divided into the eastern half and the western half. The eastern half of the area is also the area where the population is concentrated, and it is also the area where Kurosaki Ichigo and others, as well as the Urahara Kazuki store. Although the western half is a bit desolate, it is wide and wide. It's not easier to guard it than the eastern half. However, the western half is also where the base of the Masked Legion is located. Qian Ye took Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen, the 2 deputy captains, and Hitsugaya Toshiro, of course, brought the 2 deputy captains, Kira and Aburai Renji. However, Qian Ye and the 2 teams, who will guard the east zone and who will guard the west zone, the team leader asked Qian Ye and Hitsugaya Toshiro to discuss the specifics. The team leader did not make a rigid request. Others don't know that the western half not only has 8 visored people, but also the base of the Masked Legion, but Qian Ye knows it. Since Qian Ye knew about the existence of the Masked Legion, he would naturally use it. However, Qian Ye is not simply using it, but to completely shake off the 8 visored people after receiving his own, and let him send them. Of course, what Qian Ye did was not only to satisfy his selfishness, but also to the 8 members of the Masked Legion. When Qian Ye was discussing with Hitsugaya Toshiro, he said directly to Hitsugaya Toshiro, Captain Hitsugaya Toshiro, my team, go to the western half. However, Hitsugaya Toshiro said, Captain Qian Ye, your strength is stronger than me. It is better for you to guard the eastern half. Besides, the western half is desolate, but it is hard work. I should go. Hitsugaya Toshiro, I think so. You see, although this eastern half has many characters and great responsibilities, there are 4 people in this area, Kurosaki Ichigo. The Urahara Kazuki store is also in the eastern half. Not only Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi, but also Xiaoyu and Jinda. In contrast, the western half of the area is indeed very desolate. It is not only tiring to guard it, but also very unpleasant. You also said that my strength is strong. I should guard the western half and take up this responsibility. Can I work harder? Captain Hitsugaya Toshiro, don't fight with me. Besides, it is not tiring to work with another girl. I think the captain also meant this, otherwise. Qian Ye said this, but he laughed yin, and said that, you know. Originally, since the team captain would be divided in this way, the team captain must also have a consideration. Therefore, Hitsugaya Toshiro also agreed. Well then. Captain Qian Ye, you guard the western half, and I guard the eastern half. Hitsugaya Toshiro, as soon as he arrived in the eastern half, he first met Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi. After he learned that Kurosaki Ichigo had been injured, he also immediately deployed defenses. Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi breathed a sigh of relief when they saw Hitsugaya Toshiro and brought Kira and Aburai Renji. The guard team of Soul Society is really like rain in time. That's it. With the guardianship of 2 captains and 4 deputy captains, Soramaki Castle can be considered worry-free. Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi, after knowing that Captain Qian Ye was also here, originally wanted to see Qian Ye immediately. However, At the moment, it is still important to guard the castle of Soramaki. But if you want to completely protect Soramaki Castle, Kurosaki Ichigo, Ishida Ryu, Sato Yasutora, Inoue Orihime are very important. Because Urahara Kazuki and Ye also know that Soul Society people, whether it is the captain or ordinary Shinigami, once Aizen starts attacking Soul Society, they will definitely withdraw all of them. In this way, the burden of guarding Soramaki Castle can only be borne and guarded by the 4 people of Kurosaki. In other words, the 4 Kurosaki Ichigo must immediately improve and strengthen their strength. Therefore, Urahara Kazuki said to Yoruichi, Yoruichi, you will stay here these few days and take care of the Urahara Kazuki store. I will find time to meet Hiroko Shinji and let him immediately help Kurosaki Ichigo to overcome and completely control Hollow. What about the other 3? They also have to strengthen their strength. Especially Inoue Orihime, she now has only the attacking ability Subakyuki, has been completely crushed, there is no possibility of recovery. Yoruichi is to ask. Fortunately, Sato Yasutora said that I can arrange and compete for his intensive training. It's just that Ishida Yulong is a little troublesome, because he is a quintessencer, I am somewhat powerless. Urahara Kazuki said with a sigh, as for Inoue Orihime, before he has no offensive ability and has not fully recovered, I can only stop him from participating in the next battle. However. But what? Yoruichi asked. However, since this Inoue Orihime also has this healing technique, it is in line with Soul Society's 4th division. Urahara Kazuki said. Obviously, this is Urahara Kazuki reminding Yoruichi that Inoue Orihime can be sent to Soul Society's 4th division and handed over to Sister Wa. Let Inoue Orihime participate in the battle in another way. Of course, Yoruichi also understands what Urahara Kazuki means. This is because he wants Yoruichi to send Inoue Orihime to Soul Society to shake. Of course, this is not difficult for Yoruichi. He can't directly contact Soul Society, but now that there are 2 defenders coming, this matter is of course much easier. However, Yoruichi did not go to Qian Ye, but found Hitsugaya Toshiro. Of course, Yoruichi wouldn't give up near and far, besides, it's the same for everyone. Because this time the guard team arrived in this world, not only did everyone carry the Reiatsu receiver, Li Wangjiao, developed by the Research Center of the Soul Society Technology Development Bureau, but also brought the remote transmitter of the Technology Opening Technology Research and Research. Whether it is Soul Society or this world, you can send messages through remote receivers. When Hitsugaya Toshiro saw Yoruichi's sudden visit, he asked, Yoruichi-sama. Is there anything wrong with you looking for me? Captain Hitsugaya Toshiro, I do have something and I want to ask you for help. Yoruichi is also very direct and authentic. Yoruichi-sama, tell me, as long as I can help, I will try my best to help, all to better protect this empty town castle. Hitsugaya Toshiro was very serious. Hitsugaya Toshiro, of course, knew that what Yoruichi wanted him to help must be related to the Soul Society as well as the present world. Captain Hitsugaya Toshiro, you also know about the Kurosaki Ichigo trio. They all have to strengthen their strength as soon as possible. Chapter 192, for a decisive battle. Multi-pronged. Advertise here. As for the intensive training of Kurosaki Ichigo and Sato Yasutora, Urahara Kazuki and I can arrange it. It's just that Inoue Orihime has lost her only combative Tsubaki ghost, and recovery is extremely impossible. This Inoue Orihime's ability is similar to Soul Society's 4th division, and both are healing techniques. Therefore, after discussing with Urahara Kazuki, I decided to send Inoue Orihime to Soul Society and let Sister Wa come to train him. In this way, when it comes to the decisive battle with Aizen, and Orihime can return to this world and save more people. Quote. Yoruichi came together, and Yoruichi's words were also very obvious. She wanted Hitsugaya Toshiro to use a remote transmitter to help send the message to Soul Society. Hitsugaya Toshiro also immediately used the remote transmitter to pass the news truthfully to Soul Society. Soon, Soul Society's reply was also passed. The captain has agreed, and has sent someone to lead, and go to Orihime to Soul Society. At this time, Urahara Kazuki, also for Kurosaki Ichigo, needed Hiroko Shinji's help, and traveled to the base of the masked army. Others could not find the base of the masked army, but Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi did. This phenomenon of Kurosaki Ichigo, of course, was also caused by Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi, and they paid great attention to it. 567 went to talk to Hiroko Shinji, and Urahara Kazuki went, and the thought work of Kurosaki Ichigo was done by Yoruichi. Because Kurosaki Ichigo is capable of dealing with Aizen. This will be another guarantee in the final battle, whether it is Soul Society or this world. Moreover, if Aizen attacks at the same time, Soul Society and the world, then Kurosaki Ichigo will be the only guardian of the world. Therefore, Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi must figure out a way to help Kurosaki Ichigo completely overcome the mental obstacles. And defeated Kurosaki Ichigo, he could defeat his uncle Zangetsu, and stabilized. But this is said to be light, but it is very difficult to do, especially the current Kurosaki Ichigo, not only has modern depression, but also has phobias. Of course, there is no way, that is, to ask Hiroko Shinji from the Masked Legion for help. For this, Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi are naturally very clear. It's just that Hiroko Shinji and Kurosaki Ichigo once had an intersection, and Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi also knew about it. It stands to reason that only CDEJ must have the two of them come forward to reconcile. This matter is not difficult. However, this has to be done first, and Kurosaki Ichigo's own ideological work can be accomplished. So, after Yoruichi went to Hirako Shinji and Urahara Kazuki, she found Kurosaki Ichigo. Ichigo, how is your situation? Yoruichi asked. I still can't hollow. Now don't have hollow on Luhei Road, but there is no hollow. My uncle's Zangetsu is so noisy, it makes me uneasy. Kurosaki Ichigo was a little helpless. Ichigo, but our time is running out. Once the war begins, you will have to guard it in this world. Yoruichi said again. But I'm really not sure, and I don't have the confidence to do it, to defeat Uncle Zangetsu and completely control the contention of Uncle Zangetsu. Kurosaki Ichigo is also very embarrassed. Ichigo, if you don't do that, you can see if you can do it. You go to Hirako Shinji of the Masked Army. They have a way to make you defeat your Uncle Zangetsu. And, this is the fastest and best way. Yoruichi is also had to be honest. It's not that I don't look for Hirako Shinji of the Masked Army. He did say that he can help me. However, his condition is that I join them and become one of them. Kurosaki Ichigo, it is also truthful and authentic. Ichigo, I have discussed with Urahara Kazuki. On Hirako Shinji, we will come forward and say that we will ensure that you will not be embarrassed. After we say it, you will immediately go to the Masked Legion base, you see will it succeed. Yoruichi said again. Okay, I am ready to go anytime. Kurosaki Ichigo also agreed. After Yoruichi saw Kurosaki Ichigo agree to come down, the hanging stone in his heart fell. Kurosaki Ichigo is very stubborn. Yoruichi is really afraid that Kurosaki Ichigo will not agree. In the western half of the world. At this time, Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen, the two deputy captains, had already been sent into the base of the masked army by Hirako Shinji. During this period of time, the two of them are really tired. I really want to take a good rest, even for a while. Now that the two of them were sent to the base of the Masked Legion, they couldn't believe that all of this was true. There is such a place here, not only for living, but also for training. It's like a paradise on earth. And Qian Ye even told him that this is not only them, but also the headquarters of the western half. They also told them that the inferior imaginary outside would not be used for the time being. She and the two of them were going to beheaded, and some of them were going to beheaded. Both Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen thought at first that Qian Ye was joking with them. Obviously, only the three of them are in charge of the western half. Except for the three of them, no one would kill those inferior imaginaries. However, when the two of them saw the Reiatsu receiver they were carrying, they made a beep beep sound, and soon after the black dots were displayed, it disappeared quickly. There is no doubt about this must be someone who quickly and promptly beheaded the inferior emptiness that just appeared. Seeing this, Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen also had to believe in Qian Ye. So Matsumoto Rangaku asked with some curiosity, Captain Qian Ye, who are these people, guarding me and killing those inferior voids? And just when Qian Ye was about to answer, Matsumoto Rangaku. But I saw Urahara Kazuki, who came suddenly. They are Visored who live here. Urahara Kazuki helped Qian Ye and answered Matsumoto Rangaku's question. Following the voice, Urahara Kazuki appeared very suddenly in front of Qian Ye's three people. Because of Urahara Kazuki's hat, his face was somewhat hidden. Both Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen did not fully see the face of Urahara Kazuki. Although they had heard of Urahara Kazuki, they had never met him. Who are you? How did you get in? Matsumoto Rangaku asked. Matsumoto Rangaku neither knows Urahara Kazuki, but also knows that their base camp now has a very powerful barrier. Ordinary people, let alone come in, they can't even find it. Chapter 193, Urawan Kazuki visits. The Masked Legion becomes a fan. Advertise here. Also, let alone others, they are Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen, but they didn't notice at all at first. There is actually hidden here, the Masked Legion's such a large base. As for the 8 members of the Masked Army, Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen, although they are not familiar yet, they have all met. The person in front of me, Matsumoto Rangaku, is sure that he will never be a member of the Masked Army. Urahara Kazuki, you are not the owner of your Urahara Kazuki store. Why did you come here? You didn't come here to find me. At this moment, Qian Ye asked very directly. Qian Ye's question is not only to ask Urahara Kazuki's intentions, but also to tell the two of Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen. This is Urahara Kazuki, the owner of the current Urahara Kazuki store. After listening to Qian Ye's words, Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen were also surprised. It turned out that this guy is Urahara Kazuki, the owner of the current Urahara Kazuki store. In that case, you should be the Soul Society, Captain Qian Ye of the 5th Division. And the question I think is the Deputy Captain Matsumoto Rangaku, and the other is the Deputy Captain Katetsu Aizen. Urahara Kazuki did not answer the question. Writes. Urahara Kazuki also learned from Captain Hitsugaya Toshiro, the 5th Captain Qian Ye and the 2 deputy captains, Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen. What's more, there are only 3 people, Qian Ye, and no one else. As soon as Urahara Kazuki came in and saw the three of Qian Ye, according to Hitsugaya Toshiro's description, they were judged to be the famous Soul Society, the new captain of the 5th Division, Qian Ye. And Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen are not only the two deputy captains led by Qian Yeju, but also two female Shinigami, which is easier to identify. As for the leader of Qian Ye, he would recognize him at a glance, and Urahara Kazuki naturally did not. It was strange. Because since this Qian Ye came to this world, he would definitely understand the situation in this world. What's more, his original costume is very recognizable. Originally, Urahara Kazuki was also going to come out this time, to meet the Qian Ye captain. But what Urahara Kazuki didn't expect was that it would be in this situation that he saw this somewhat legendary captain coming. Now I saw the three of Qian Ye, not anyone from the Masked Legion, and even Hiroko Shinji was not there. Urahara Kazuki also knew that in this base, it seemed that some interesting stories had happened. So, Urahara Kazuki deliberately asked, Captain Qian Ye, you know me, have we met? Urahara Kazuki, I neither know you nor have I met you. I have only occasionally heard people talk about it. Besides, it is not difficult to distinguish the true and false of your image. Besides, as far as I know, it's so easy to get in here, except you and Yoruichi, I'm afraid there will be no one else. Of course, I have to be excluded. Qian Ye said with a smile. Regarding what Qian Ye said, Urahara Kazuki did not refute, but turned to ask Qian Ye, Captain Qian Ye. You guests are all here, why don't you see the host, Hiroko Shinji and the others? Master Urahara Kazuki, we are not guests right now. It should be the host. At this time, Matsumoto Rangaku interjected. After hearing Matsumoto Rangaku's words, Urahara Kazuki was also surprised. Although he had guessed that something must have happened here, he did not expect that the Matsumoto deputy captain would say such things. What's going on? I heard that this Captain Qian Ye has always been a little less formal in his affairs. Could it be that he defeated Hiroko Shinji and others and drove them out? If this is the case, it would really be a little troublesome. Others don't know, but the backgrounds and difficulties of people like Hiroko Shinji, Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi are very clear. Of course Urahara Kazuki was also very suspicious, and he had to doubt it too. Because of this pretentiousness, it is also in line with the style of the Qian Ye captain. What's more, now even Qian Ye's two deputy captains, Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen, are also free to live here without any worries. It's really a pair, they are the real masters. Urahara Kazuki certainly does not doubt that Qian Ye can defeat Hiroko Shinji and others. Because of the leader of Qian Ye, even Zaraki Kenpachi and Byakuya Kuchiki can defeat them. What's more, this Captain Qian Ye has always been, never playing cards according to the routine. It is normal for Qian Ye to be able to do this. For flowers. However, Urahara Kazuki seems to have forgotten that Qian Ye's three-person job has come. Since the three of them are all staying here, what about those voids outside? You must know that now the emptiness of the outside is not only more and more, but also more and more powerful. What's more, in the eastern half, Arrancars also appeared. Captain Qian Ye, could it be that you drove Hiroko Shinji and the others away? This can't be done. I hope Captain Qian Ye will show mercy. Urahara Kazuki asked very worriedly. Master Urahara Kazuki, although this is our home base for Captain Qian Ye, Hiroko Shinji and the others were only defeated by Captain Qian Ye. They were not as ruthless as you said and drove them out. At this time, Katetsu Aizen said. After Urahara Kazuki heard what Katetsu Aizen said, he also knew that Hiroko Shinji and the others were defeated by the Qian Ye captain. But what about the members of the Masked Legion? Since they were not driven out, where did they go? You know, after Urahara Kazuki came to the base of the Masked Army, not only did he not see Hiroko Shinji. Even the other members of the Masked Army, Urahara Kazuki, have not seen one. Urahara Kazuki was also a little anxious, but he came to Hiroko Shinji and the others to help Kurosaki Ichigo overcome his mental obstacles and completely control Hollow. This is related to the key to the decisive battle with Aizen in the future. Kurosaki Ichigo must have the help of Hiroko Shinji and others. Of course Urahara Kazuki also knew that although the Qian Ye captain would not really kill Hiroko Shinji and the others, it is difficult to say exactly what happened to Hiroko Shinji and others by Qian Ye. Although the strength of the Qian Ye captain is indeed good, Urahara Kazuki does not think that Qian Ye can help Kurosaki Ichigo. So Urahara Kazuki asked again, Captain Qian Ye, what about Hiroko Shinji and others? Why didn't I see them? Master Urahara Kazuki, they are all sent by Captain Qian Ye to guard the western half and kill those inferior vacancies. Otherwise, how can we have time to rest? And those vacancies outside, I'm afraid it is I don't know the misfortune, many people come. Matsumoto Rangaku said truthfully. Where? Chapter 194. The Future of the Masked Legion. Advertise here. Urahara Kazuki realized what Matsumoto Rangaku said. I should have thought of this a long time ago. It seems that I am really messed up. Indeed, although most of the voids that appear outside are only inferior voids, they appear very frequently. In this western half of the area, naturally, someone must guard it and kill it in time. It turns out that Hiroko Shinji and the others are going to protect the western half of the area and kill the void. But, how can Hiroko Shinji and others listen to the Qian Ye captain? This makes Urahara Kazuki a little confused. Clear. While Urahara Kazuki was having many doubts, Qian said, Urahara Kazuki, you don't have to doubt this, doubt that. Hiroko Shinji and the others are really fine, but they have become my little brothers. No, to be honest. They have become the 570 hand I received. Captain Qian, didn't you say that you have incorporated Hiroko Shinji and others under your control? Urahara Kazuki asked in surprise. Urahara Kazuki, is there anything wrong with this? You know, although they are Visored now, they are also Shinigami, right? I am helping them and returning to our Shinigami. Qian yes said. What Qian said, it can also be said that it is Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi who really thinks, but they are also in the same situation, and they can't do it. If the Qian captain can really do it, this will not only get rid of their heart disease, but also really help Hiroko Shinji and the others, and it will strengthen their vitality for Soul Society, which is a good thing. It's just that these are the affairs of the Qian captain, and they are also future affairs. Urahara Kazuki is now anxious about asking Hiroko Shinji and others to help Kurosaki Ichigo. I just don't know what the Qian captain would think and do after he talked about Kurosaki Ichigo. For this, Urahara Kazuki is really not sure about it. Urahara Kazuki is not only unsure, it is more difficult than finding Hiroko Shinji. Of course Urahara Kazuki also knows that since Hiroko Shinji and the others are now under the jurisdiction of the Qian captain, the final decision is naturally in Qian's hands. Although the captain of Qian is also the captain of Soul Society, after all, Urahara Kazuki has not dealt with Qian. And this Captain Qian is indeed somewhat unpredictable. However, no matter what, Urahara Kazuki had no choice but to truthfully explain his intentions to the Qian captain and tell the truth. Therefore, Urahara Kazuki said, Captain Qian, I am here this time, and there is indeed a feeling of remorse. I want to ask Captain Qian to do me a favor. Urahara Kazuki, what you want to say, is it related to Kurosaki Ichigo? Qian said very directly. After Urahara Kazuki heard what Qian said, he was shocked again. It seems that this Captain Qian really can't hide anything from him. Of course Urahara Kazuki also knows, Qian also knows Kurosaki Ichigo, and knows Kurosaki Ichigo, these are not surprising. Of course Urahara Kazuki knew it too, because Kurosaki Ichigo went to Soul Society to save Rukia Kuchiki. There was also some overlap with the Qian captain. Captain Qian yes, it is precisely targeted at Kurosaki Ichigo, who can overcome Hollow. Now Kurosaki Ichigo, not only does not dare to make himself hollow, but is also very afraid of fighting. Urahara Kazuki also had to truthfully say. After listening to Urahara Kazuki's words, Qian only smiled, but said, Urahara Kazuki, you continue to say. Captain Qian Kurosaki Ichigo wants to completely hollow and overcome the fear in his heart. Only Hiroko Shinji and others can do this. These Visored can help Kurosaki Ichigo. Urahara Kazuki continued. Urahara Kazuki, how about this? Then you should go to Hiroko Shinji. What's the use of you telling me, I can't help Kurosaki Ichigo? Qian said with a smile. No, Captain Qian I can't speak, I'm too worried about Kurosaki Ichigo, too worried about the safety of Soramaki Castle. Urahara Kazuki said quickly. Oh, how do you say this, how can it have something to do with the safety of the entire Soramaki city? Qian asked quite knowingly. Captain Qian don't blame me for speaking badly. Either you captain of Soul Society, Shinigami, if once the battle begins, Aizen will attack Soul Society, then you will eventually withdraw. Only Kurosaki Ichigo can protect them, and only they can protect them. Urahara Kazuki is telling the truth again. This is also a truthful statement. When Soul Society comes, I am afraid that it will really give such an order. That said, Kurosaki Ichigo is really useful. Qian smiled again. Captain Qian you can help Kurosaki Ichigo, help me too. Urahara Kazuki begged again. Oh, Urahara Kazuki, it turns out that you are such a small thing. I thought it was a big deal. If this is the case, of course there is no problem. I will ask Hiroko Shinji and others to come and strengthen this Kurosaki Ichigo. But well, Qian said here, but stopped talking and looked at Urahara Kazuki with a smile. Urahara Kazuki heard Qian and agreed to help Kurosaki Ichigo. It was also a joy in his heart. However, Urahara Kazuki is hearing it. After Qian's last, but, he couldn't help but, gawked, in his heart, and after a sudden he felt a little cold and whistling. Obviously, Captain Qian really couldn't help. Moreover, Urahara Kazuki is also, there is nothing in this world, really free lunch. However, Urahara Kazuki didn't know that there would be nothing to stand up as Captain Qian. However, in 4.9, Urahara Kazuki is very sure that Qian's this is definitely not a good thing. Captain Qian, what do you have, what are your requirements, just say it. If you want any medicine or props, as long as my Urahara Kazuki store has it, there must be no problem. Urahara Kazuki also had no choice but to say. The medicines in Urahara Kazuki store. Forget it, but this is not what I want. Qian still said with a smile. Captain Qian, then your condition. Before Urahara Kazuki finished speaking, Qian took the words and said, I remember, Kurosaki Ichigo is not the only one in this world, right? What about the others? They don't need intensive training to strengthen their strength. Is it? Qian Ye asked. Chapter 195. Fuyuan Kazuki comes home. Inoue loom is spotted. Advertise here. Captain Qian Ye, if you want to come, you also know. In this world, only Kurosaki Ichigo and the four can. In Urahara Kazuki again, before finishing talking, Qian Ye grabbed the words again. Since there are 4 people, why do you only care about Kurosaki Ichigo? Then you can ignore the other people and leave them alone. You won't be too partial, right? Qian Ye said this, paused for a while, and then said, Urahara Kazuki, if you really want Hiriko Shinji and the others, they can help Kurosaki Ichigo complete the hollow and overcome the obstacles in the heart. I can agree. But well, you have to bring Kurosaki Ichigo, Ishida Ryu, Sato Yasutora, and Inoue Orihime all 4 to me. Here I am, otherwise we will not talk about everything. Quote. Captain Qian Ye, what do you mean? Not only did you agree to help Kurosaki Ichigo, you also have to train Ishida Yulong, Sato Yasutora, and Inoue Orihime. Urahara Kazuki said here, but after a short pause, he continued, Captain Qian Ye 23. It's just that Inoue Orihime's situation is not only a bit special, but there is still some trouble now. Then this Inoue Orihime, what is the special method, and what kind of trouble does it have? Is there something I can't solve? Or is it that Urahara Kazuki doesn't believe me? Qian Ye asked chokingly. Captain Qian Ye, don't get me wrong, I don't mean that. Again, Urahara Kazuki failed to speak clearly, but heard Qian Ye ask again, then what do you mean? Captain Qian Ye, just because of this Inoue Orihime, since the last time she fought with Arrancars Yami, she was fighting hard to protect Kurosaki Ichigo. When she fought desperately, her only combative Tsubaki ghost had been punched by that Arrancars Yami. It was smashed. Urahara Kazuki had to speak honestly. Isn't it just a skill? If it's broken, it will be repaired again, and it will end. There are still so many things that make you push back and forth. Qian Ye said deliberately again. Captain Qian Ye, you don't know anything about it and went to Orihime. After being smashed by Arrancars Yami, even half of the fragments were not left behind. The current Inoue Orihime wants to fully recover, but fear is fundamental. There is no possibility. Urahara Kazuki had to explain again. After listening to Urahara Kazuki's words, Qian Ye also knew that it seemed that what should have happened, after all happened. Since Ulziola and Yami have come to this world, they have investigated Kurosaki Ichigo. I am afraid that this Inoue Orihime has already been targeted by Ulziola. However, Qian Ye didn't want to stop, and broke the game between Aizen and Ulziola. Otherwise, it's gone, so let's kill the reason why, Hueco Mundo, is there. That Inoue Orihime, isn't she proficient in therapies? Wouldn't it be over if she was responsible for the recovery after the war? I don't think her Tsubaki ghost will need to recover. The battle matters will be left to Kurosaki Ichigo and Ishida Ryu. Sato Yasutora 3 people will do. Qian Ye is very direct and authentic. Captain Qian Ye, even if you want Inoue Orihime to be in charge of the rear treatment, she doesn't have too much experience, so she has to strengthen her controversy. Urahara Kazuki had no choice but to ask for the second best. I want to give Inoue Orihime a professional treatment enhancement. This is very easy to say. I asked Sister Wa to send someone over and bring Inoue Orihime to the 4th Division of Soul Society. Isn't it done? Qian Ye, but he said with a smile. After listening to Qian Ye's words, Urahara Kazuki also remembered. This is also the case. I heard that Qian Ye, the captain, has already accepted Unohana Retsu, the captain of the 4th Division. Originally, Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi were worried that Soul Society would not agree to this matter. With the presence of the Qian Ye captain, this is sure to be done. As a result, Urahara Kazuki also smiled and said, Captain Qian Ye. The matter of Inoue Orihime, I also trust you. I said Urahara Kazuki, you are really verbose. It's no wonder that people always say that you go to your Urahara Kazuki store to buy things, either because you cheat or you are idle with too much nonsense. Qian Ye is a little foolish. Up. After Urahara Kazuki listened to this, Captain Qian Ye, his face was dark, and black lines appeared in his eyes. Is there such a thing? How come I have never heard anyone talk about it? Or is it that when I was away, Xiaozai and Xiaoji did things that offend people? And while Urahara Kazuki was thinking about this, Qian Ye said again, this is the case. You bring all the 4 Kurosaki Ichigo to me. Come to my current base camp. Sister Wa hasn't yet. Before sending someone over to pick up Inoue Orihime's, I will ask that little ape to preach to Inoue Orihime. This is fine. The Xiaoba, Hachigan, mentioned by Captain Qian Ye, indeed has something in common with Inoue Orihime. It's not necessarily true, and it's good to go to Orihime. Of course, Urahara Kazuki also knew about Visored Hachigan. Captain Qian Ye is Captain Qian Ye. You really wanted to go with Yoruichi and me. Moreover, Yoruichi has asked Hitsugaya Toshiro to send the information and requests to the Research Center of Soul Society. Urahara Kazuki also had to truthfully say. Then it seems that Yamamoto Haraji Ryusai Shigekuni has agreed. It seems that you 570 are ahead of it. If this is the case, the Inoue Orihime, if you don't want to bring it, don't bring it. Said I was deliberately grabbing your credit. Qian Ye said with a smile. Captain Qian Ye, Soul Society agreed, and has decided to send Rukia Kuchiki to come to the world to take Inoue Orihime. However, I still have to bring it along with Orihime. Urahara Kazuki is truthful again typical. Urahara Kazuki, you really deserve to be a profiteer in the Urahara Kazuki store. This is not to be overlooked, so a little bit of benefit. That's okay, let Shaohachi first give Inoue Orihime a popular knowledge and talk about some healing techniques. Makes sense. Qian Ye also said. And when Qian Ye listened, Urahara Kazuki said so. I also know that it seems that Rukia Kuchiki still has to come to this world. However, Qian Ye hopes that Rukia Kuchiki and Inoue Orihime will not happen to that kind of thing. Originally, Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi also planned to send Kurosaki Ichigo to the base of the masked army and hand it over to Hiroko Shinji. And he will also immediately train Sado Yasutora to strengthen his strength. It's just because Ishida Ryu is a quencher, Urahara Kazuki, even if they want to help, they are afraid that they have more than enough energy. Chapter 196, Qian Ye's Conditions. Advertise here. Captain Qian Ye, are you also interested in Sado Yasutora, Ishida Yulong, and Inoue Orihime? Urahara Kazuki asked tentatively in order to be more certain. However, Qian Ye smiled and said, isn't it interesting? Then Captain Qian Ye, you. Urahara Kazuki was also a little confused when Qian Ye said so. Is it? Could it be that I took care of it wrong? Probably not, the Captain Qian Ye just now clearly meant that. Urahara Kazuki, I think you should be selfish. What Qian Ye said surprised Urahara Kazuki. Could Captain Qian Ye know how to read minds? How did he know that I wanted to take Kurosaki Ichigo and the others for his own use? No wonder Yoruichi would make me be more careful, Qian Ye is really a difficult person to deal with. This is too refined. It's no wonder that even strong women like Unohana Retsu will worship him. However, it seems that this is not a bad thing. Let Kurosaki Ichigo and the others follow Qian Ye, maybe they can really train them all. In Karakura town now, what is missing is not a strong person like Qian Ye. Besides, there are no weak soldiers under the strong. As long as Kurosaki Ichigo, Sado Yasutora, and Ishida Yulong follow Qian Ye, they will definitely become a good soldier. If Qian Ye doesn't have any points, he will come from the real materials. Hiroko Shinji and the masked corps would not succumb to him in this way. Urahara Kazuki had figured this out, so he no longer struggled. Captain Qian Ye, leave Kurosaki Ichigo and them to you. The big stone hanging in my heart can finally be put down. Urahara Kazuki is still a little, can't help but speak authentically. Urahara Kazuki, I think you think of me again as Kurosaki Ichigo's stepping stone. Qian Ye explained it again with a single word, and the mystery came. Captain Qian Ye, I am also thinking about protecting Karakura town. For the protection of Karakura town, Kurosaki Ichigo and others can only become stronger. 1. Urahara Kazuki also knew that he couldn't even count Qian Ye at all, but he had to take the Guardian, Karakura town as an example. Urahara Kazuki, don't talk about it. I think it's true that you can't ask for it. Qian Ye hit the key point again, and directly broke Urahara Kazuki's thoughts came. Captain Qian Ye, I will bring you Kurosaki Ichigo, Sado Yasutora, Ishida Yulong, and Inoue Orihime tomorrow. Urahara Kazuki said very directly. He was obviously also hitting the iron while it was hot, lest the Qian Ye captain would regret it. Otherwise, he not only missed the opportunity, but because of this, he would offend the Qian Ye captain. Up to you. Qian Ye was a little bit, and said nonchalantly. It's just a pair, earning sons who don't care about it. You promised to help Kurosaki Ichigo for people to strengthen their strength training. Get event reward. Spiritual power plus 10. What the hell? Did I agree? I have something to say. Qian Ye wanted to vomit and was very speechless. Of course, it was Qian Ye's original intention to help Kurosaki Ichigo and the others to strengthen their strength. Of course, things have to be done and things have to be said. Urahara Kazuki, I haven't finished my words yet. Don't be too happy for now. What Qian Ye said was another excitement to Urahara Kazuki. Here, Qian Ye is really not a good person. Urahara Kazuki, although not a profiteer, is also a businessman. Of course, I also know that there is no early without profit, no business. Besides, there is no free lunch in the world. Captain Qian Ye, whatever you have, don't hesitate to say, or ask what you want. Urahara Kazuki had to gritted his teeth and said to Qian Ye. Looking at the one who scared you, I don't have your rape, and I don't want your righteous soul pill. Qian Ye suddenly brought up the Yihan pill. Captain Qian Ye, I can have this, but I don't bring free ones in my shop, Shaolipu. Urahara Kazuki joked with Qian Ye. He also wanted to reconcile the atmosphere of this dialogue. Since you have one, then give me 7, 8, 9, or 10. Maybe it will really be useful then, and it will be ready for emergencies. Qian Ye said this, but smiled, and reminded Urahara Kazuki again. However, I don't want fakes or scraps. Urahara Kazuki at this time was even more shocked. You also know that, maybe you have sneaked into my Urahara Kazuki store. Because Urahara Kazuki knows very well, there are such goods in his Urahara Kazuki store. Seeing Urahara Kazuki not speaking, Qian Ye said directly. Urahara Kazuki, I will also make you happy. After I have strengthened the strength of Kurosaki Ichigo. Kurosaki Ichigo and the others must be added to my team. Good, I agree. Quote. Urahara Kazuki promised, of course he would agree. This is exactly what he thinks, and it is strange and weird for him not to agree. He just wanted to keep Kurosaki Ichigo several people by Qian Ye's side. What is this really thinking about? Qian Ye's request is like the world has fallen, like a pie. That's it. Just bring the real righteous soul pill and bring it to you. Qian Ye said as if he was giving a guest order. Okay, I'm all up to you. Urahara Kazuki, of course, also understands the double meaning of Qian Ye's words. When Urahara Kazuki saw that this matter was a foregone conclusion, he smiled at Qian Ye and said, Captain Qian Ye. Then I will leave first, and we will see you tomorrow. You have completed the hidden event. Receive event reward. Spiritual power plus 100. Hidden event. What is hidden event? Qian Ye thought for a while, but also understood a little. They successfully brought Kurosaki Ichigo and received their own team, Li Zhao's. However, Urahara Kazuki agreed to this matter. It's just that Kurosaki Ichigo and the others have to agree to make it happen. For Kurosaki Ichigo, it is not a big problem, because Yoruichi has already gone to do ideological work. Of course, Yoruichi is just to persuade Kurosaki Ichigo to let Hirako Shinji and the others help solve his hollow. But joining Qian Ye's team was an accident. Even Urahara Kazuki did not know in advance that it would be such a result. I don't even know, now not only Hirako Shinji and the others, they have been subdued by Qian Ye. Even the base of the Masked Legion has become one, Qian Ye's current base camp. And Sado Yasutora and Inoue Orihime are also easy to say, just a little bit of tongue. However, this Ishida Yulong is a little troublesome. According to Urahara Kazuki's knowledge, Ishida Yulong lost the ability of a Quincy after being injured. Chapter 197. Inoue Loom discovers mystery. Advertise here. But Ishida Yuryu's father, Ishida Ryujin, was injured by Ishida Ryoryu, but he made Ishida Yuryu no longer close to Shinigami in the future. Moreover, Ishida Longshuan, in order to save Ishida Yulong, had already exposed his real strength of the Quincy Master. And now only the father of Ishida Yulong can help Ishida Yulong to restore the ability of the Quincy. For these things, Urahara Kazuki was also very helpless. He also knew that it would be very difficult to persuade Ishida Ryujin. However, fortunately, Urahara Kazuki not only knows Ishida Ryujin, but also has some friendship. Of course, this matter must also be done, because Urahara Kazuki has agreed to Qian Ye. Urahara Kazuki also knew that since Qian Ye wanted Ishida Yulong to come, and threatened to strengthen Ishida Yulong, then Qian Ye must have his own way to restore Ishida Yulong to the ability of the Quincy. However, what surprised Urahara Kazuki was that, after a few people heard that after joining Qian Ye's team, not only Kurosaki Ichigo agreed. Even Ishida Ryujin agreed very happily. This result really made Urahara delighted and surprised at 570. They all don't believe that what happened is true. Just in Urahara Kazuki, came to find Qian the next day. Kurosaki Ichigo, Ishida Ryu and Sado Yasutora, and Inoue Orihime are four. There was noisy and quarrel along the way, and it was soon to come, the place agreed with Urahara Kazuki. Kurosaki Ichigo, we didn't come to the wrong place. Look at this barren mountain, how can anyone live in it? Sado Yasutora asked with some doubts. Sado Yasutora, it's so noisy. Kurosaki Ichigo yelled impatiently. Seeing this, Orihime quickly explained. Sado Yasutora classmate, Mr. Urahara Kazuki, the agreed location is indeed right here. But in this barren mountain, could we find the wrong place? Ishida Yulong also asked suspiciously. You can't go wrong, Yulong Ishida. Look, isn't the big blue stone owned by Urahara Kazuki? Inoue Orihime pointed to the big blue stone ahead. But I just think it's a little weird. Ishida Yulong said again. That's right. What about that person? Why didn't you see Mr. Urahara Kazuki? Sado Yasutora said. Can you be quiet, isn't it still early? Kurosaki Ichigo cried again. I came a little earlier. Mr. Urahara Kazuki must have not arrived yet, let's just wait. Inoue Orihime said. Yes, the place where Kurosaki Ichigo and the others are at this time is indeed the entrance of the masked army base. However, here is the barrier set by Hachigan, which confuses the audience. Of course, they came from Kurosaki Ichigo when they came outside the barrier of the base. Qian Ye inside, was aware of it. However, Qian Ye was not in a hurry and asked someone to come out and let them in. This is not Qian Ye, but Urahara Kazuki intends to send it personally. But Qian Ye wanted to see if that Inoue Orihime could really discover the barrier, pass through the barrier, and enter the base. At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo and the others are also outside the barrier of the Masked Legion, the base. He stopped and was watching around. This is also Urahara Kazuki, there is no time to send it in person, Kurosaki Ichigo and the others come to see Qian Ye. It was Urahara Kazuki. To save time. Therefore, the 4 Kurosaki Ichigo were brought together here. Since Urahara Kazuki is at the barrier of the Masked Legion base, he also has a special mark for him to find him. And ordinary people can't find it at all. The big blue stone referred to by Inoue Orihime was actually missing here. This is also Urahara Kazuki, in order to let Kurosaki Ichigo and the others find CDEJ to come to this place and use a special method to save it. Not to mention, let alone others, even Qian Ye and the Masked Legion people did not see any clues at all. It seems that Urahara Kazuki also has some special methods. It turned out to be able to hide it, everyone's sight came. And at this time, Kurosaki Ichigo and others at the barrier became a little impatient. However, just as Kurosaki Ichigo was also complaining, Inoue Orihime said to the 3 of them, "The 3 of you don't quarrel, this place is a bit weird and something is wrong. Inoue Orihime, if you don't scare people, don't you just leave it alone? What's weird?" Before Kurosaki Ichigo finished speaking, Sato Yasutora also answered, "That's right, there is nothing wrong with this. I see you and Orihime, you will be stunned and suspicious all day long." Kurosaki Ichigo classmate. Sato Yasutora classmate. I'm not talking nonsense. When Inoue Orihime said this, he pointed to the sky again. "If you don't believe me, let's take a look. There are birds flying in the sky. Why are they always flying around the front, as if hiding something? Cut. Isn't it the bird that flew? It flies as it likes to fly, you can control it, it's too much fuss." Kurosaki Ichigo said disapprovingly. Quote. Also, just after Kurosaki Ichigo's words, Ishida Yulong said, "Hey. Look, Inoue Orihime classmate is right, these birds are really, just like Orihime said. Flying. It's really weird to change direction while flying. I said you two are both offending nerves. Birds can fly as they like. They change directions. What can this tell you?" Kurosaki Ichigo cried again. "That is, you can see clearly for yourself, there is nothing in front of me except the wild mountains and ridges." Sato Yasutora also said. Kurosaki Ichigo classmate. Sato Yasutora classmate. "Then you are looking at the ants on this ground." And Orihime pointed to the ants in groups. Inoue Orihime classmate. "You are really boring. First, the flying birds, and now the insects on the ground. You are not annoying, I am still annoying." Kurosaki Ichigo said again. Kurosaki Ichigo classmates. "No. Look at them, isn't it the same, isn't it like hiding something while moving forward?" Inoue Orihime still pointed, and the ants crawling forward spoke to Kurosaki Ichigo. "Wow, really, these ants are really interesting." At this time, Sato Yasutora, after carefully looking at it, the ant queen crawling on the ground also cried. "Yes, why are these ants all crawling?" And then they suddenly turned around. "I'm really afraid that there will be something mysterious." Ishida Yulong also watched, and said after the ants crawling on the ground. Chapter 198. Inoue Loom passes through the barrier. Ichigo is ugly. Advertise here. At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo, seeing Sato Yasutora and Ishida Ryu, both stood on the side of Inoue Orihime, and spoke no more. At this time, Inoue Orihime not only walked forward slowly, but also moved forward with his hands, groping. I saw Inoue Orihime walking, but suddenly stopped. And Inoue Orihime, where it stopped, happened to be the bird in the sky, changing the direction of flight. At the same time, the ants on the ground changed their directions while crawling. However, what is funny is that I saw Inoue Orihime at this moment, after stopping. As if performing a funny pantomime, I first touched the air with my hands and gently touched the air in front of my eyes. Then he was tapping the air in front of him with his right hand lightly. Ha 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 ha. This made Kurosaki Ichigo 3 people, can't help but laugh. Inoue Orihime classmate. You are too funny. You are not tired. Stop. You are almost laughing at me. Kurosaki Ichigo cried again. When the 3 of them laughed, Inoue Orihime himself had a different feeling. Enchantment. This is a barrier. It turns out that there is a barrier here. Inoue Orihime was very sure. Inoue Orihime also understands now. Since there is an enchantment here, it makes sense that the birds and the crawling of ants they have seen before will change directions. However, Orihime has not returned, nor did it promptly say to the Kurosaki Ichigo trio. Because Inoue Orihime is also ready to try again, in order to understand the truth. However, before the 3 of Kurosaki Ichigo stopped laughing. But he stared at his big eyes again, and was stunned on the spot, speechless. Therefore, in front of the time, there is no sign of Inoue Orihime. Classmate Inoue Orihime, just like that, disappeared in place inexplicably and disappeared. What's the matter? What about Orihime? Why did you disappear? Sato Yasutora said, rubbing his eyes vigorously. I was afraid that I was blinded by my own eyes, or I was blinded by tears of laughter. Isn't there really a ghost? Or there is a powerful Zalai? Ishida Yulong said more exaggeratedly, and stepped back. Ghost. Ghost. You big ghost. Where's that imaginary? There's no sense at all. Kurosaki Ichigo rushed towards the place where Orihime disappeared while talking. Boom. Hearing a loud bang, Kurosaki Ichigo was hit and flew back upside down. Boom. With another bang, Kurosaki Ichigo fell heavily to the ground. This is because Kurosaki Ichigo, when he rushed forward, was too fast and too fierce. He was bound by the base and bounced back. What? Ouch. Kurosaki Ichigo was not only slammed to stare at Venus, but also screamed again and again. Ha 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 ha, hehehehehe. Seeing Kurosaki Ichigo's awkward appearance, Ishida Yuryu and Sato Yasutora, both holding their belly and bending over, laughed endlessly. I'm so laughing. Ishida Yulong finally managed to stop laughing. Hey, it's really weird, and being on Orihime didn't lie to us. Hey, Kurosaki Ichigo, you're not learning. Classmate Inoue Orihime is doing handsome performances. Sato Yasutora said this, but it was spraying, pointing at Kurosaki Ichigo and smiling. What's the matter? Kurosaki Ichigo, why do you still learn? The dog eats shit. You two villains, don't be proud of me, be careful that I beat you all over to find your teeth. Kurosaki Ichigo was lying on his back, kicking and screaming. Kurosaki Ichigo seemed to be a little tired, so he got up from the ground. But what Kurosaki Ichigo looks like at this time? It's a bit embarrassing. When Kurosaki Ichigo stood up and listened, he pointed to Inoue Orihime, and shouted at the place where he disappeared. Enchantment. Where is the guardian enchantment? What kind of barrier are guarding the barrier? Then, how did Inoue Orihime get in? Ishida Yulong was still a little suspicious. That's right, Inoue Orihime, how did you get in? When Sato Yasutora said this, he pointed to the enchantment again and said with a smile, could it be that this enchantment is specially used to block our boys? ... For flowers. Really? Sato Yasutora, go and see if there is any written there. The boy's reminder to stop. Ishida Yulong said with Sato Yasutora. Ishida Yulong, this must be true. It's just that some people just got caught before they could see clearly, and went to classmate Orihime, kicked back. Ha 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 ha. After Sato Yasutora finished speaking, he burst into laughter again. Ha ha, and Ishida Yulong did the same. After a dry laugh, he said, no. Inoue Orihime classmate, it's convenient to go. Otherwise, some people, because they are too nasty and shameless, will be kicked back by classmate Inoue Orihime. Sato Yasutora still teased. Point 0. Kurosaki Ichigo, are you a pervert? Or is your favorite hobby? Kurosaki Ichigo asked. Ishida Ryu, Sato Yasutora, you are abnormal. Your whole family is abnormal. Kurosaki Ichigo yelled again with anger and pain. Oh, it turns out that this is our Kurosaki Ichigo classmate's hobby. Could it be Kurosaki Ichigo, you don't have to do this kind of thing in school. Sato Yasutora is in line with the saying again. Put down the gossip and return the book to the main story. It turned out that Inoue Orihime didn't know how she got through the barrier and got inside. Inoue Orihime also just felt that she was suddenly attracted by suction, and it seemed that she and the barrier were fused together. Then Inoue Orihime went inside the base. After Inoue Orihime entered the masked army base, he was also very surprised. Is this the base of the masked legion? This is too big, too spectacular. What unfolds before Inoue Orihime's eyes at this time is an endless valley of all sizes. What she saw outside the enchantment was completely different. However, Inoue Orihime did not see any residents at this time. Therefore, it is too vast, and there are countless mountains and hills, blocking his vision. Although Inoue Orihime himself can pass through the barrier and come to the base. But it was difficult for Inoue Orihime to bring in Kurosaki Ichigo and others, and to get on Orihime. Where? Chapter 199. Inoue Orihime makes trouble. Matsumoto Rangaku's shock. The base of the masked legion, but Hachigen, the enchantment set up. Hachigen, he can be called the ghost leader of the Kido people, and he is naturally an expert in this area. If it is someone else, let alone whether it can be broken, Hachigen's barrier is hard to find. Because of Hachigen, the enchantment placed is very powerful. And Inoue Orihime, although she can get in and out, she doesn't know how to crack it. Naturally, I don't know, can I bring in Kurosaki Ichigo and others? And all the performance of Inoue Orihime was clearly seen by Qian Ye, who had been paying attention to her. Just after Inoue Orihime crossed the base enchantment and entered the base, Qian Ye called Matsumoto Rangaku over. Matsumoto Rangaku, come here, Captain. Are you looking for me? Is there a 5 or 70 mission? Matsumoto Rangaku asked when he came over. Because Matsumoto Rangaku, originally Qian Ye, was the deputy captain of Soul Society's 5th team. Of course, if something happens, she must be told to finish it first. Matsumoto Rangaku, you go to the entrance of the base and pick up the Inoue Orihime for me. Qian Ye ordered directly. Kurosaki Ichigo and the others will come to the base of the Masked Legion today to see Qian Ye. Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen, the 2 deputy captains, naturally also know. It's just to make Matsumoto Rangaku, but some do not understand. Didn't it mean that Kurosaki Ichigo and them were delivered by Urahara Kazuki personally? And Urahara Kazuki not only knows where the base of the Masked Legion is, but can also go in and out freely. Why did she want her to go now? The base entered the entrance and picked them up. At this time, Matsumoto Rangaku hadn't heard what Qian Ye meant. Because Qian Ye ordered Matsumoto Rangaku to pick up Orihime. Did not mention them, Kurosaki Ichigo. But Matsumoto Rangaku is thinking of Kurosaki Ichigo and the others, because Inoue Orihime is one of them. Since I can't bring them in, Kurosaki Ichigo and them all come in. And Orihime is also preparing to return to the outside of the base first. Together with Kurosaki Ichigo and them, we are waiting for Urahara Kazuki's arrival. Of course Inoue Orihime knew it too, after Urahara Kazuki arrived. Urahara Kazuki must have a way. Kurosaki Ichigo and the others also passed the barrier smoothly, and went to the base to ask. Inoue Orihime. Wait, when Inoue Orihime was about to return to the base. But I heard someone calling her, and I still knew her. Just when Inoue Orihime stopped and looked back. But I saw it, a woman in a very revealing dress came. Inoue Orihime, although I have never seen it, Matsumoto Rangaku, but I also heard Kurosaki Ichigo talk about it. And, when I joined Orihime, I also knew in advance that this Matsumoto Rangaku's. The current Matsumoto Rangaku is not only the captain of Qian Ye, but also the deputy captain of Soul Society's 5th Division. Moreover, this time I also came to the real Karakura town together. This time I also came to Karakura town with Captain Qian Ye, and was responsible for guarding the safety of this western half. However, even though Orihime said it was in advance and had some understanding of Matsumoto Rangaku, it was still unavoidable to be speechless when meeting her in person. And he spit out in his heart. Does this have to be dressed like this? Is such a dress really good? Is it a bit too far away? However, the combination of Orihime also quickly recovered. I quickly smiled at Matsumoto Rangaku and said, "You are the deputy captain of Matsumoto Rangaku." "Hello, deputy captain of Matsumoto Rangaku. I am Inoue Orihime, please take care of me." When Matsumoto Rangaku saw Inoue Orihime, he also recognized her directly, and it was a little bit strange. Although she and Inoue Orihime have never seen each other, it depends on her dress and her image. But anyone who has heard of her is not difficult and easy to recognize her. Inoue Orihime, my name is Matsumoto Rangaku, and Captain Qian Ye asked me to wait to pick you up. Matsumoto Rangaku said very directly. Exhibitionist. At this time, Inoue Orihime was still in his heart and started to spit out secretly. When Matsumoto Rangaku came to the entrance of the base and saw Inoue Orihime, he was also a little shocked. After Matsumoto Rangaku secretly searched and sensed everywhere. It was also very sure, only Inoue Orihime entered the cemetery. How is it possible? How did Inoue Orihime come in? Matsumoto Rangaku also asked in his heart. Because Matsumoto Rangaku also knows that even she couldn't get in at the beginning. This is the base of the Masked Legion. Matsumoto Rangaku, of course, also knew that, not to mention that she couldn't. Breaking through the barrier of the Masked Legion base, it was even discovered that she didn't even find it. It is precisely because of this that Matsumoto Rangaku was shocked. At this time, Matsumoto Rangaku also understood. Why did Qian Ye tell her to take Inoue Orihime to him earlier, without mentioning Kurosaki Ichigo? It turned out to be this, and I was already on Orihime. Somehow, I entered the base of the Masked Legion. Matsumoto Rangaku thinks so, and she can only think so. So, Matsumoto Rangaku said, Inoue Orihime. You are a little mistaken, I am the leader of our Qian Ye. I specifically asked me to come and pick you up, not to pick up Kurosaki Ichigo and the others. What? After Inoue Orihime heard that Matsumoto Rangaku said so, he was also surprised. Inoue Orihime also said to Matsumoto Rangaku anxiously, Vice Captain Matsumoto Rangaku. The three of them, Kurosaki Ichigo, are still outside. There is an enchantment here, and they can't get in again, so what can I do? Inoue Orihime, since you can pass through this barrier, don't you know how to bring Kurosaki Ichigo and the three of them into this Masked Legion? Matsumoto Rangaku was also somewhat curious and asked. Because Qian Ye only asked Matsumoto Rangaku to come here to wait for Inoue Orihime. But she didn't say, let her bring Kurosaki Ichigo and the three of them into the barrier, and go to see him. Of course Matsumoto Rangaku knew that Kurosaki Ichigo and others were still outside the masked army base at this time. Matsumoto Rangaku, after coming over clearly, was a little embarrassed. That's right, Kurosaki Ichigo, aren't they here now, outside of the masked army base? Since I was going to take this Inoue Orihime to see Captain Qian Ye. Then am I supposed to bring Kurosaki Ichigo and the others by the way, and lead Qian Ye to Captain Qian Ye? That's the case, let's be a good friend. Let's be together. Moreover, if nothing happens, Kurosaki Ichigo and them will all become her combat companions in the same team in the future. Chapter 200. Go out, don't say no me. Kurosaki Ichigo see Qian Ye. Advertise here. That's it. It's okay. You wait first, I'll go out and bring them in. Matsumoto Rangaku also smiled. Thank you, Deputy Captain Matsumoto Rangaku. He went to Orihime to meet Matsumoto Rangaku, and agreed to take Kurosaki Ichigo and the others, and also to meet the Captain Qian Ye, which was the first to say thanks. You don't need to thank you. Wait, I'll be back soon, our Captain Qian Ye is still inside, waiting for you. Matsumoto Rangaku also said. Just when the three Kurosaki Ichigo were making a fuss, they heard a female voice coming over. Hey, I said you guys are not as good as a girl. I am embarrassed to mess around here. Have you had enough trouble? If there is enough trouble, follow me in to see Captain Qian Ye. If you haven't made enough trouble, then you continue. Despite the nonsense, I think you should wait until next year to come again. Of course, what Matsumoto Rangaku said is just a joke, which is not true. And she couldn't fail to make 23. Kurosaki Ichigo took them to meet her, Captain Qian Ye. It is also impossible for Kurosaki Ichigo to come back next year. If you really want Kurosaki Ichigo to come back next year, I'm afraid the day Lily is cold, Maba means. Following the voice, Matsumoto Rangaku suddenly appeared at the entrance and exit of the enchantment at the base of the Masked Legion. This is where Kurosaki Ichigo was hit by the barrier of the Masked Legion base just now. Cool. Gurulu. The sudden appearance of Matsumoto Rangaku caused it, Kurosaki Ichigo and the three of them screamed and swallowed their saliva. This is the two of Sato Yasutora and Ishida Ryu, looking straight and drooling. Even Sato Yasutora had a nosebleed immediately. It's so stinky. Sato Yasutora turned around when he saw that he had a nosebleed unsuspectingly. Sato Yasutora, why are you still injured? It seems that this is still an internal injury, it's not a minor injury. Seeing this, Ishida Yulong certainly will not let go of the opportunity to make fun of Sato Yasutora. They really are two dull things, they smell so bad and they have nosebleeds. Kurosaki Ichigo was watching, Sato Yasutora and Ishida Ryu, humming coldly. Kurosaki Ichigo is of course okay, because he has met Matsumoto Rangaku several times in Soul Society. Exhibitionist. It's still the same, I don't know how to change it, and it's a little bit restrained. If there is a life, I think you are responsible. However, Kurosaki Ichigo was still in his heart, vomiting noise. Actually, Kurosaki Ichigo is not much better. In the beginning, Kurosaki Ichigo met Matsumoto Rangaku for the first time in Soul Society. It was the same with nosebleeds and smelly. However, Kurosaki Ichigo is already somewhat immune to Matsumoto Rangaku. Hello, Deputy Captain Matsumoto Rangaku. You are Captain Qian Ye who asked you to come and lead us. After Kurosaki Ichigo had finished speaking to the two comrades who were not promising, he turned his head and said hello to Matsumoto Rangaku. Kurosaki Ichigo. Long time no see. He looks a lot more handsome, I really like it. But Matsumoto Rangaku started to laugh Kurosaki Ichigo again. I have it. It's Matsumoto Rangaku's deputy captain. It's becoming more and more popular. Kurosaki Ichigo said, but pointed to Sato Yasutora with his hand. But Matsumoto Rangaku just ignored it. Sato Yasutora and Ishida Ryu smiled and said again. Kurosaki Ichigo, since Sir Urahara Kazuki has not come yet, then you should follow me in first and see Captain Qian Ye. He is still inside, waiting for you. Matsumoto Rangaku was talking and beckoning to Kurosaki Ichigo. And Matsumoto Rangaku, when looking at Sato Yasutora and Ishida Ryu. There was a giggle on his face, but his heart was secretly watching the two of them. Of course, Matsumoto Rangaku not only ignored the two, but also did not sneer at each other. Because in Matsumoto Rangaku's view, this is not only normal, but also natural. Let's go. What a shame. You two go out in the future. Don't say you know me Kurosaki Ichigo, I can't afford to lose that person. Matsumoto Rangaku does not say it, but it does not mean that Kurosaki Ichigo will not say it. And these words that despise the two are just that Kurosaki Ichigo dared to speak so, boldly, and blatantly in front of Sato Yasutora and Ishida Ryu. What is this called? Brother. A brother who was born and died together. Not to mention, if this were in the Middle Ages, it would really be regarded as brothers and comrades in arms who have experienced life and death together. This is to give each other's life and back to each other's good brothers and comrades in arms. The current Matsumoto Rangaku and Katetsu Aizen, of course, also know how to take people in and out of the base enchantment. Because after the two of them, they will be in charge of this masked army base. Of course, Qian Ye thinks that this is his base camp in this world. When Kurosaki Ichigo and the three men were brought to the base by Matsumoto, Urahara Kazuki also happened to be here. It seems that I seem to have come a little late. But this is fine, lest I go to see the very difficult Captain Qian Ye again. Urahara Kazuki saw Kurosaki Ichigo and the others. They were all picked up by Matsumoto Rangaku's deputy captain, and then turned and left with a smile. Of course, the reason why Urahara Kazuki left here, he dared not meet Qian Ye and fulfilled his promise. That's because the person Qian Ye 573 wants has already entered. And the righteous soul pill that Qian Ye wanted, Urahara Kazuki, was given to Kurosaki Ichigo when he went to see Kurosaki Ichigo. In the words of the profiteer Urahara Kazuki, this is the meeting gift presented by Kurosaki Ichigo to Qian Ye. It has to be said that Urahara Kazuki is not only proficient in the market, he has some insights, but also knows the etiquette. Of course, Urahara Kazuki did not take seriously what Qian Ye said about buying. Even if Qian Ye really wanted to give him money, Urahara Kazuki would not ask for it. Here, naturally, there is also the profound meaning of Urahara Kazuki. And Kurosaki Ichigo, Ishida Yulong, and Sato Yasutora, of course, also knew that the base of the current Masked Legion was already the base camp of Captain Qian Ye. In this way, the three of Kurosaki Ichigo are more willing to join Qian Ye's current team. And Kurosaki Ichigo accepted, Hiroko Shinji and them, helped him Hollow's training, which is somewhat of a matter of course. Because everyone will be a team in the future. Of course, the key lies in the fact that this Captain Qian Ye not only helped them when he was in Soul Society, but he also became a friend. Hello Captain Qian Ye. The four Kurosaki Ichigo were brought in by Matsumoto Rangaku. When I saw Qian Ye, he asked Qian Ye almost in unison.